Radio Free Skaro!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 1017. I am Stephen at Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
Well, here we are, kids. It's the end of season 2.
It's the end of an era.
Doctor, it is the end of an era already. We hardly started this era, and it's over with Doctor Who, The Reality War. Ncuti Gat was last episode as Doctor Who. A whole bunch of stuff happened in this episode that we'll talk about. I'm going to press play on it right now in the background for myself to see if we can get to 66 minutes, 68 with the international voice credits tacked on of conversation about the reality war, which I keep wanting to say the reality bomb. Because
titles never get reused.
They never get reused, and
I was watching the Smugglers Blu-ray the other day, and the Savages, not Smugglers. Sorry, yeah. Shh, whoops.
Sorry, that's next. Just quiet. We'll talk about that.
As far as we know, watching the Savages Blu-ray and the Toby Haydock 103-minute epic.
What an excellent documentary!
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's quite good. Yeah,
but they were talking about how he made a joke about he can't have the death of whatever. So many times. So, I mean, apparently they're for the death of whatever's.
That's true.
Back in the day. But yeah, Reality Bomb, Reality War. I know Reality Bomb wasn't a title of the episode, but still.
No.
It's still something stuck in our brain. Partly thanks to Graham Burke, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mostly thanks to Graham Burke, I would say.
And perhaps because this episode was a bomb?
Yes.
Warren, what did you think of the Reality War?
This was my face through most of it.
On the podcast, Warren just did this.
Great radio, Warren.
It's
great
radio.
Radio.
Flat, just kind of indifference.
Yeah.
And that's my whole thing about this. It's like, I didn't care enough to hate it. Let me put it to you that way.
Oh, no.
Like, I was just watching it going, this is the same. The first half was the same old RTD, throw everything at the wall, didn't stick, well, whatever. And then the second half was just kind of meandering confusion, from what I could tell.
Right.
And then at the end, I actually did yell at the TV and go, come on, really?
Yeah.
So there are bits and pieces I liked within it. It's not the end of time. I didn't dislike it to the extent I really disliked it. But let me point something out here.
Okay.
Every single Doctor regeneration scene, including the end of time, I was touched by. This one I felt nothing for. And I feel really bad about that because I like Ncuti. And I just was like, let's get this over with. And I felt bad for myself and for Ncuti and I guess for Billy Piper too, because I was just like, oh, come on, this ain't working for me, man. What's going on here?
Yeah. Well, there's that. Mm-hmm. There's Warren's.
Yeah, sorry.
Chris?
Go ahead.
What do you think? What's your initial impressions of Doctor Who, the Reality War?
Yeah, I bloody loved it.
Really?
Yeah, no, it was great. Loved it. RTD, as best as RTD is able to do, he stuck that landing.
Okay, this is the heel turn I did not see coming, but all right.
Not expecting this. What is this? Did somebody kiss a baby and blow on something, and then maybe this is how this happened?
I practically got into an argument with my better half over this last night. I don't want to say too much, but
okay.
No, I'm here for it. I want to hear this.
There were tears and anger involved, and they weren't from me.
Gosh. Wow!
No, I thought it was fantastic. All the setup stuff got paid off for the most part. It was far from perfect. Let's put that out there.
Okay, all right.
Early into the conversation, but it's since possibly parting the ways, I don't think I've liked an RTD finale more.
I mean, you can't deny your feelings one way or the other. So
that's true. Wow, that is Chris coming off the top.
This is what is happening.
That is quite something. Wow. All right. Well, I will say this. I going into it, this is my own personal story. For those watching the live stream, I have a horrible mustache going on because I've got a playoff beard going on because the Oilers are in the Stanley Cup final. And thankfully, the Oilers won Game 5 of their series against Dallas on Thursday night, thus preventing them from having to play a Game 6, which would have been an hour or so after the finale, so for the second year in a row, a Doctor Who finale would have coincided with a massive playoff game for the Oilers.
And a home game at that.
And a home game. That's the big reason, because, of course, I would go there and work the games. So I went into this episode like, I'm ready. This is great. I'm looking forward to this Doctor Who thing. And I think the last shot of the episode, which we will obviously talk about, more or less soured my opinion of this episode for hours. I had to convince myself to watch it again toward at the very end, like literally 11 o'clock last
midnight,
night.
Yeah.
I did that too. While cutting it is at camp, I had it silently on one window while I was editing the because I'm like, I can't watch this again, but I can have it on so we can do this. Basically.
Well, you were saying to us, like on, was it Friday or something maybe, how the Oilers winning put you into like a very good mood and
such a great
things
mood.
like that, and then you watched you watched Reality War and you were in a funk. I believe
I was
the
in a
phrase
big
you used.
funk. I was in a big funk yesterday.
I was more build up for me, like the whole thing. And I'm making it sound worse than it was. It wasn't. I didn't boiling over with hate it. I was just like, it's just not. It's just kind of there. Everything I expected to happen happened. And 32 minutes in, and I'm like, I'm homering it up, going much earlier than usual. What do they got coming in?
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, it felt like a lot of story points in here were treated as basically inconveniences. You know, as I thought about it throughout the course of the day, like, you know. RTD is not interested in telling the story about the Ronnie and Omega, so let's just get rid of that.
I more or less called it that Omega was going to be like pointless.
A literally open and shut case.
Here's what I like about Omega.
Comes through, and
I've
then
seen
we
people
just
complaining about what he looks like, and I'm like,
Right.
well, if he's in the Underverse and he's been rotting this whole time and he's nuts, then
Right.
it makes sense he would look like that and be a crazy person. But eating Time Lord seemed a little silly, but whatever.
Right.
So in a way, I'm kind of happy they got rid of him and got rid of the Ronnie, although it seemed a little weird that she's just out of nowhere. Well, we got rid of her and we got rid of them, and now we're back to this thing, which now I care about this kid for some reason.
Yeah, we got
just seemed really stapled on, that whole thing.
She was basically treated like remember the Timeless Children, Last of the Cybermen, whichever one, when the Master shows up. Remember we had a Shad, and he's like, oh wow, big Cyberman villain, but then the Master shows up. No, I'm talking about Ronnie.
Yeah, that was the same illusion I drew. Or same comparison.
Is like, oh wow, we got the Master in the shot. Oh, we don't need him anymore, and the Master just literally just turns him and then fires him, and that's it.
Yep.
I found that funny though.
But that's not it, because the shot comes back in Power of the Doctor.
He does later on, because Chris Chibnall says, yeah, I just wanted to bring it back. I regretted it. So all right, kudos.
And to be fair,
guess.
Power of the Doctor is as much of a mess, but it's a fun mess, and this wasn't fun for me.
I mean, Power of the Doctor
I had a blast watching it. For
exactly.
I laughed.
Power of the Doctor is the second of now 3 regeneration stories where we seem compelled to have to bring back previous Doctors for Doctor's regeneration story. We had the first Doctor in World and not Time Twice Upon a Time. We had multiple Doctors in Power of the Doctor, obviously, and we had the Jodie scene in this.
And you're forgetting Matt Smith in Deep Breath.
Well, that's a first episode, is what I mean to say. The actual ending of the episode.
Oh. I'd still lump it into the same header.
Yeah.
The Jodie thing, absolutely unnecessary to the story. Probably my favorite part of the whole thing. And then Chris sent us the thing where they added the Sega Nakanola music, and I'm like, okay, I like this even more.
No, Steven sent that.
I sent that in our chat. Yeah, somebody rescored it. I don't want to jump around too much right now, because I felt like I was enjoying it enough, and then it wrapped up, and then at that point I was thinking, well, now we're all just waiting for the other penny to drop, because there's like 35 minutes left of this episode, and only Ruby, apparently, who is the previous companion but knows everything, she knows stuff, and we're all just sort of waiting for it. Okay, come on, figure it out, because this new baby now, Poppy now, is the thing that now saves the entire world. It's
no.
No.
Well, I don't know
Okay,
what
go
you
on.
were watching, but okay.
Oh,
Poppy does not save the world.
Here's what annoys. Well, they had to stay anyway. Here's what annoys me about the themes of this episode is that basically having a child proves your worth. Poor Belinda has had zero character throughout the entirety of this season of her one and only season of Doctor Who. And now we find out, oh, actually, she just wanted to get back to her kid because that's what makes it all worth it. Poor old Anita shows up, who's been pining after the doctor, but then discovers, oh, he's gay. Well, I'm going to run into the arms of the first person I see and get pregnant because having a child makes me worthy. That was the overall theme of this. It's kind of like RTD marrying off everyone at the end of time. So they have to be together. We have to put Mickey and Martha together because they have to
coupling them off, yeah.
Coupling them off and
You're probably not wrong about that aspect of Anita, but my first thought was, oh yeah, Ricardo from HR, and I'm like, okay, isn't that going to be a problem?
Like HR,
shouldn't HR know better?
No, he's in HR, so it shouldn't be a problem. He'll take care of that.
There's so many inter-office romances.
No, I didn't mind how they had her see Doctor and Rogan. Goes, all right. Like I didn't mind how that played out, but.
Also,
I mean, it was done much better with Clara in the Name of the Doctor, where she goes into various parts of the timeline. I have to say, I bet you the reason why they threw in a Day of the Daleks clip is just so that they could say Daleks were in a Ncuti Gatwa
Yes, that's
episode,
absolutely why they did it.
because otherwise it was not happening. Ncuti Gatwa becomes the second Doctor to never face the Daleks on screen after Paul McGann.
Is the actress who played Anita, was she pregnant at the time? Like, was that just a hand wave of her being pregnant rather than like a thematic element?
Hand wave. If you look closely at all the Anita scenes, she's never on screen with anyone else. They clearly shot her standing at the door, letting time in. Oh yeah. When way outside of everything else. If you look at the Unleashed and the behind the scenes,
she's there in the group photo at the end.
She is in the group photo at the end. That's right. Yeah. Maybe she showed up with that one day.
Yeah, she was there.
She Alex Pillai's hair is short shooting the Dalek scene, and it's long and bushy shooting both the Jodie scene and the reshoot in the backyard in February, which we'll get to, because there's a lot of stuff that got moved around in this episode and reshot and edited out. Like Susan. Remember Susan? Remember
Why bother
all
remembering
the build
Susan?
up to Susan. For some reason, the Doctor is seeing Susan in the 2 episodes prior to that, and you were thinking, this is going to pay off. And nothing. She's not even mentioned in this episode.
How about
all this talk about fatherhood and I have a child, but I'm not able. They were clearly tying that up, and I think that somehow, here's my theory. This is purely a theory at this point, based on the hair length of Alex Pillai, that this is another thing that was late in the day. I think that at some point, probably Susan showed up in the TARDIS, and they had a conversation, but it wasn't about regeneration. And I bet you they probably say, let's cut it and bring in Jodie Whittaker instead, and have that be sort of the trigger towards regeneration. This is purely a theory on my part, but how else can you explain setting the table for Susan's long-awaited actual return in Doctor Who, have her on the TARDIS set and everything.
Carol Ann Ford.
With Carol
Ann the role.
Ford, and nothing. It's not even mentioned throughout this whole episode.
As we record this, in 15 days, Carol Ann Ford turns 85.
Right.
So if they were going to use her, that was very possibly the time. I mean,
we had our time. We had it. That was it. We could have had it. But we didn't, and
but it's not one. The other thread that remains just forgotten, I guess, is all the stuff with the gods. What the hell is any of that for? Like, I guess Omega is the boss level dog or whatever, or God. But then they just dispatch him in about 10 seconds, so that meant nothing.
He's gone.
And the boss says hello. Well, that doesn't mean anything, and I guarantee you, whenever we get new Doctor, they're not going to follow up on that. It'll just be immediately forgotten. Which I'm fine with, frankly.
There's also nothing. There's nothing to say that the gods are done with. Like you were saying,
I really hope they are, because
you were saying last week, Stephen, you were expecting some like nice tidy wrap up resolution to that whole arc, and we definitely didn't get that.
No, we didn't. Is Mavity still saying? Please say no. Please say it's gone. I don't want it.
We don't know.
We don't know. I thought they would have wished that away. It was left very unclear, very hazy, that if all the gods are gone or what. It was left.
The only thing we know for sure is the god power of the baby was taken away. But,
That's right. And there's another baby. Says, there you go. We validated your existence too. You get to raise another baby. Clara's mom.
Clara's mom. Ruby's mom.
Clara's.
Sorry, Ruby's mom. Yeah.
Yeah, Clara Sunday. That's why I was thinking. Yeah.
Oh,
Her
right.
name is
Okay.
Clara. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, John Williams mentioned that there was a nightclub scene here for some reason there was on the Disney Plus loading screen at some point prior to the episode actually airing this week. There was a scene of the Doctor and Ruby in a nightclub, and it's just like
Belinda, you mean?
or rather, Belinda in the nightclub. And I'm like, it looks like a cutscene from the GTA 6 trailer, but
Yes, it does.
he was wearing a very, very similar dress. And yeah, I don't know where the hell that scene was, but that's probably the original version of this episode that did not have Shooty got while regenerating. Perhaps I don't know what the deal was. There was a lot of weird reshoots going on. Why Melanie decided wait a second, I'm not a housewife. I'm a woman who works at Unit. Now let's go get a perm and ride my scooter up into the HQ.
Before I forget to mention that, I
Yeah.
said this before we got on the air. I'm like, so she drove through the lobby, sat there idling in the elevator, and they're like, yeah, it looks great when she pulls in on her scooter, but that makes no damn sense.
None at all. Chris, I feel like we're dumping on this episode that you liked.
Yeah, we need
already.
you to praise it up here.
We got to sprinkle in some of your optimism before we.
I'm just more annoyed at jumping around, to be honest.
Well, I can't help it. I have to.
Yeah, I know. I mean, okay. If you're annoyed, then as this thing is playing out, the first massive exposition scene is happening in front of me right now, where everyone gathers in Unit HQ and just says the story for 15 minutes, and people literally teleport in and out to say their lines. And once they're done talking, out you go. We don't need you anymore, Mrs. Flood. You said your bit, but gone. That was a lot of talking, where we discovered how the Ronnie survived the Time War. She did some DNA.
I thought it was like a chameleon arch or something. Without saying chameleon arch.
Exactly.
Ish,
That's
triplicated the fallability of the thing. Is that was that?
The genetic explosion thing, whatever, is apparently a callback to what the Master did.
I don't. I'm amazed that the Ronnie would even remember Mel from Time of the Ronnie, but that was placed there for the fans, which, let's face it, that's just important that the fans remember things, because the fans would have pointed out, how come the Ronnie didn't mention anything about Mel? Okay. All right. Go on.
This is the first and presumably only time Mel's actually run into anybody she met back in the day.
Oh, sure. I'm talking about the Ronnie. Why would the Ronnie even bother to remember? She doesn't think about humans at all. Oh, I remember you from 1,000 years ago.
She traveled with the Doctor?
for that week and a half that you made my life hell on Lacursha.
She associates Mel with the Doctor.
I guess so.
I don't think that's a stretch at all.
I don't know. I feel like she, I don't know. I think it was, well, it's obviously there just for the fans, because that's all Doctor Who is for now, is just there for the fans, which I'll get to later. But
anyway, Sunny Optimism. Come on.
Sunny Optimism.
Who else would it be for?
The optimism, right? I know. The exposition is playing out, so don't just carry on while they're discussing the plot on my TV here. What do you got there, Chris? What do you want to talk about?
I don't know. We've gone through 18 points already, 18 kind of whatever's already, and I don't know where to jump in.
Let's start at the beginning.
Why do you think this stuck the landing? What stuck the landing for the whole episode in general, or the resolution of plot lines? Yeah,
the all the stuff that was set up for the most part. Maybe not. Like I said, it's not perfect. The stuff that was set up was paid off, and from a storytelling perspective, we don't get that with RTD. Not as often as I would like, anyway.
But what was paid off here? Because I think some stuff wasn't.
What wasn't
some
paid
stuff
off?
was. Well, the gods, for one. No, that's paid off.
Cool. So that's an ongoing thing, potentially. So why does it have to have a payoff?
I don't think ongoing is doing a lot of work there, but okay. No, just tell me what paid off. I'm sure you're right, but I just can't think of it.
No. Defend yourself.
No, you don't have to defend yourself. But I genuinely want to hear what you think was paid off.
Oh, I'm trying to even think at this point. My brain's
not in a malice-filled way.
No. We are curious. We want to find some positives in this, because for some reason I feel like I liked it enough when I watched it, but now when I think about all the stuff about it, I I'm annoyed by it, and I don't want to feel annoyed by it. You know.
I have a positive if you're waiting.
Go
Chris,
for it, Warren.
I do like how I didn't particularly like all the stuff with Poppy because it just seemed kind of stapled on. But I did like when Ruby is like, "What the hell's going on?" She's basically being gaslit by the universe. The whole thing where they're passing that fabric back and forth and it's getting smaller and smaller. I thought that was a nice.
It's a jacket.
Jacket. Interesting way to sort of visually show the audience something ain't right here.
Well,
right? I thought that was kind of cool.
I've got that later on in my notes. Yeah.
I saw the second that Belinda turned her back on the crib, and then she just went there and taught. And once I realized that literally no one is looking at the crib, I said the crib's going to disappear.
Yeah,
I just knew it was out, and they just kept passing it back and forth.
Oh, I don't mind that. I don't mind that.
I thought it was hammered a little home, a little too much for my liking. Also, kind of a little bit like Amy and Rory. About how trying to remember Rory, you know, because like, oh, remember Rory and stuff, and then Amy just forgets Rory in the Solarian 2-party from Series 5, right? Like that's kind of been done as well, trying to like remember a person who was in there, and then they just eventually forget, and it never happened.
I mean, that's 10 odd years ago, so I don't mind if they redo that, but.
Well, they redo a lot of things in Doctor Who now, apparently.
Yes, true.
But, yeah.
Anyway, we're keeping Chris from talking here.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't know what he wants. He just liked it. That's all. He just liked.
I mean, that's fair.
He liked an RTD finale. Which
I had vibes, Warren. I've liked RTD finales before.
Like I said, that's totally legit.
Like I said, this is my I think the best RTD finale since Parting of the Ways.
I was gonna say, like, since all the other ones are kind of crap.
I know.
There are only the two.
I guess, yeah.
I think I don't know. I think Doomsday, Army of Ghosts, Doomsday. I hit the emotional beats like no other Doctor Who since, in my opinion.
Yeah,
that hit the emotional beats. I would never argue with that. But from a story perspective, just the whole like. You know, Rose's voiceover at the start of Army of Ghosts. This is the day I died, and of course she doesn't.
Right.
Just
Such
disappointment.
Officially died on the paperwork.
Yep,
I didn't mind that. I think you're right. That is a good. Like that's why Last of Time Lords was so depressing because after two great ones, you're like, I know. That's how we're ending this.
That was unfortunate. I still have trauma from watching that. You know what? Chris is right. The stuff that they did set up, which was dumb, was paid off. What's paid off is what I mean to say.
Yes.
Chris, is what you're saying.
For me, storytelling is one of the things that I look for if I think I like something. And if the story,
as you should,
if the story isn't there, if it isn't complete, if it isn't coherent. And oftentimes, you know, we'll put the blame on RTD or Chibnall or whomever, but it isn't necessarily their fault. It could be other producers. It could be the editing. It could be keeping the time. It could be there are a lot of factors involved.
Extenuating circumstances, yeah.
A lot of factors involved. Taking out beheading from Robot of Sherwood.
Right.
You know, whatever. There's a lot of factors that can change how something is presented to the audience, and in this case enough was there for all the strands to be tied together in a sufficient enough manner that I liked it, and I had fun. I enjoyed it. I watched it. I laughed. And then, you know, I looked down at my phone and the story's wrapping up and it's 12:30 and I'm like, we have half an hour still to go.
Still to go, half an hour. Yeah.
So when I watched it the first time, I kind of just sat there and enjoyed the ride as best I could.
All right.
And then as the day wore on, because I didn't get to until around 8 o'clock or so last night for the second viewing. But as the day wore on, I was, you know, just mulling things over in my brain. I'm like, when I watch this the second time, I'm probably not going to like it as much.
No,
I did.
Wow, cool.
As well as the whole like last 25, 30 minutes where the story seemed to have been wrapped up, and they just focus all on the Poppy stuff. That flowed a lot better for me the second time when I knew what was coming. But I still don't like that the story, you know, effectively or seemingly wrapped up.
Yeah,
2/3 into the episode. That was one of the things that irked me about the Interstellar Song Contest. Still does. And I think that the pacing and timing could have been a lot better. I realized that they were always going to have at least a little bit of time set aside at the end for wistfulness for whatever
Finale stuff,
relative
Murray Gold score music.
yeah,
you know.
relative to the regeneration, if regeneration was going to happen. Of course, the regeneration signposted 20 minutes before it happens when the doctor says, you know, the doctor says, I liked this face.
Right. I knew it when he said the last of the Time Lords. Like, oh, okay, if the rumors are true, he's going at the end of this.
Except he's not the last of the Time Lords, but you know, whatever.
That's true.
There's one other Ronnie still.
There's still
That's it
another
for her.
Ronnie out there.
Two.
No, one got eaten.
One got put into Omega. We don't know she got eaten. She got dragged back. She got dragged back into the Underverse.
Yeah, she's getting Sarlacc pitted
true.
into the Underverse. Yeah.
For all we know, yeah, exactly. She could
The
Boba
book
Fett her
of
way
the
out of
Ronnie.
there.
The book of the Ronnie.
She's gonna crawl back out of Omega, make friends with some Tusken Raiders, and hang out with kids with scooters. You know.
This is a show, classic series or otherwise, you know, famous for really, really dodgy resolutions to cliffhangers and peril
And goofy nonsense.
You know
and
what,
things
though?
like that.
You know what, though?
and
Go on.
and we get that here as well with Anita and the Time Hotel door.
Sure.
I mean, that's as far as cliffhanger resolution is concerned. Sure, why not?
I went along with that. Here's the thing, though. You don't have to make dodgy resolutions a trend. You know, it's like whenever you start a new Star Trek, you don't have to make the first 2 seasons bad just because previous Star Trek
And yet they do.
shows do. You know, it's like, I mean, if we made a new Star Wars film, we have to have a sandstorm in Tunisia wreck everything because that's just how things started. You know, you don't have to keep, implicating disaster to make a thing just because that's what you did in the past.
Back in the day, when the scripts were still submitted weeks, months in advance. So, I mean, I would forgive things more back in the day as far as like dodgy resolutions are concerned than nowadays when things are, scripted and planned to, very fine points and whatever.
Right.
But yeah, we're still getting it. So whatever. Yeah, sorry, I'm just getting my attention is kind of split between the what I'm trying to say and the live stream chat. But as far as the other Ronnie is concerned, Mrs. Flood grabs the time ring, disappears. No reason she can't reappear. So so maybe it's one Ronnie left. Maybe it's 2. Maybe we don't know. But
knows?
Not Last of the Time Lords. The Doctor saw Mrs. Flood grab the time ring and go off to wherever.
Right.
So he knows he's not the last of the Time Lords. I mean, it works from a dramatic and emotional impact.
That's all you need. That's all you need.
That's what's delivered. Like there's nothing, no technology that can do this. It's only me. And okay, fine, sure. I mean, we've had worse setups, I imagine. But yeah.
And I'm not criticizing, Chris. You're free to like this. We are
thank
also
you.
free
Thank
to be
you.
just.
Yeah,
No. I just mean like your opinion is just as valid as ours.
Yeah, I wanted to hate this.
You tried
See,
your
I
best.
didn't.
You did
I
your
didn't
best.
wanna hate
I
it.
know.
I didn't want to hate this. My expectation was to be disappointed, and I was gladly I was subverted in that way.
Right.
Like a couple days before it went out, there was I think I sent it to you guys. Simpsons meme of when Homer was doing stupid things, and he's sitting at his terminal at the power plant, and all the coworkers are behind him in the doorway saying he's going to do something stupid, and somebody did that with RTD's head over over Homer's, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what I'm walking into this expecting. Is I'm expecting things not to be paid off. I'm expecting for crappy resolution to the story overall and an ending and I was walking into it with I was not completely expecting Shooty to regenerate. I thought there might still be a chance. Rumors always abound, and who knows what's true and what's false. But there were reports that there were multiple endings shot, and it was a very late in the game decision as to which one was going to be shown. I think based on other things I've heard or have been told, that's BS. insofar as
There's one
maybe
extra shot. There were reshoots in February. There were
oh,
definitely
there were
reshoots in February.
and we'll talk about those as you say for sure.
Yeah.
But I was kind of holding out hope that we get some sort of like happy surprise rug pulled out from under us that Shooty doesn't regenerate and Doctor Who will return at Christmas, or kind of message at the end of it. And well, we didn't get that, but I was annoyingly spoiled about the regeneration, spoiled about Billy Piper's presence at the end of it.
That's right, on Reddit or something like that. Yeah.
So I mean,
well, I mean, I feel,
but I walked out of it a lot happier than I expected I would.
Do you have any? I feel like I don't know. I have like closing statements. Nothing
I think
really
I have a couple
else to
too,
say.
but, yeah.
So I don't want to get to that yet, Chris. I would love to hear what notes you wrote down for this. Because I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued what notes you had along the way because you enjoyed this, and usually you I don't know, maybe you don't note down stuff.
Well,
that you just
I don't want to
liked,
get to my notes quite necessarily. There's still some broader strokes that we can cover off first. Like so, there's Nat. Hey Nat, how's it going? Long time no chat. Talking about like the Poppy thing and just that as a plot point and whatnot, and that's so hackneyed. Like it was pasted on with, I didn't think, enough thought.
No, really wasn't.
Do we know, with the story in the engine, with seeing Poppy at the very end of it, do we know if that was planned? If that was planned, or if that was a late addition?
Was it shooting concurrently and they just put her in that set or something?
Or,
I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm curious to know where along the way that Poppy scene was put into the script.
Probably pretty late. Probably, I bet you pretty late. Probably based on what they were doing.
That'd be my gut. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know when. I mean, I know they're all wearing their same costumes for the different stories, but I don't know if they recreated those shots for this episode where they mentioned. Yeah, I think they're all. Just,
I suspect they did. Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't shoot them at the time or anything like that.
But I mean, the whole, the Poppy thing. That's one of the elements I don't think that didn't sit well. It didn't
feel true to me. It felt like, and it didn't feel true to this doctor either.
No, it really didn't.
Like, of course, he wants one child, all that stuff. Yeah, of course he's going to do that. He's going to sacrifice himself for the greater good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But just all this stuff where you've got this out gay doctor and all of a sudden he's like, I'm a dad now with a lady. I'm like, this ain't ringing true to me. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, and it didn't. It just felt like I was being gaslit at the same time as the people in the show.
And the way that they treated Ruby throughout the whole real, oh, you're just misremembering this.
Yeah,
you're wrong. You were laughing at you. You're an idiot. Like they just kept dumping. Like somehow they did both companions wrong.
Yeah,
in this
because
story.
Belinda gets done dirty in this too.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I don't. I had a completely different interpretation from you on that one.
Really.
Mm-hmm.
About what, Ruby or
Ruby.
or Belinda? Really?
About Ruby, yeah. They were dumping on her and basically not exactly calling her a liar, but, you must be misremembering, you are glitching, whatever. Right. But that was just set up for Ruby convincing the doctor and having her monologue about, you did this for me. You should do it for Poppy. As soon as Ruby finishes her bit, the doctor complete 180. He's like, okay, I trust, he doesn't say it out loud, but like, I trust you implicitly that this is the way it was.
Right.
I will fix this.
Mm-hmm. Eventually, but up until that point, they're basically just gaslighting.
Yeah,
and then even Belinda goes, I think it's quite offensive that you're saying this about my daughter.
You're saying I have a daughter, I don't remember, whatever.
And then the most cringe line of the whole thing was when Kate goes, "In ways, we're all your children, Doctor." And
a little bit. I cringed more at Mel's scooter barreling into the.
God.
Visually, I kind of love the scooter. I just don't think it makes sense.
It was better when Clara rode her motorbike into the TARDIS at the beginning of Day of the Doctor.
And also, just to go on with the vehicle theme, it does look super cool when he's riding on the Ronnie's Bone scooter. Like, that is pretty well made and well done, where he's skimming over the Thames. I thought that was pretty fun.
Boom, 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 boom. Oddly enough, Brian May is married to Anita Dobson. I feel like that is the closest to the Flash Gordon connection as we can get.
Just shoehorn that in as much as you
During
can.
that whole thing, I thought perhaps we'd get that. Maybe Brian May, can you come in and get your guitar out?
We do not need when she's quoting the two Ronnies. We do not need Flash Gordon shoehorning as well. Come on.
I already mentioned that it was camp last week, and it was less camp. I found it was still some camp. The scene that's playing out in front of me now is the Doctor who never uses guns, basically turning the Time Vindicator into a massive DMAT gun and zapping Omega back.
I felt like he was going to get an aneurysm because his face was so strained. I'm like, Shooty, are you okay? Like, are you going to be all right here? Because that looked like painful, like he was going to pass out or something.
Right. Also, his eye lines completely don't match during some of those shots. Sometimes he's looking straight up, other times he's looking straight on. It was a weird
That's
thing.
called Phantom Menace phenomenon.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yes, Chris. You have something else there?
Probably.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't really organize my thoughts right now. Yeah.
Did you notice, by the way, when Ruby shows up in the TARDIS after at the end there, when she's holding the baby, and they do a pull out
after Conrad's room was revealed to be the TARDIS,
and there's a bed there, and then it's gone the next shot when they come in, and it said there's
there's a chair, and there's a what looks like a punching bag sort of thing.
True. Oh, right, that was his TARDIS. Okay,
his
guess.
room was the TARDIS. That's why the Ranny didn't let the Doctor into Conrad's room.
Golly, that was not as well.
No,
that was.
It wasn't. It really wasn't.
It really wasn't made apparent. I just thought, it's a TARDIS doors. That's why.
But after the fact, that realization is made.
Now that I think about it, the door becomes the TARDIS. That's right. I didn't. Wow, yeah, that was pretty vague, I have to say. Kind of like poor old Millie Gibson's ever-changing wigs throughout the course of this episode.
I really didn't notice those, which maybe I'm a dummy, but I just did not notice them.
She had wigs on the whole time. Jodie Whittaker had a wig on, but because her hair was a different color for her one day on set. Yeah, okay, wow. Thanks for explaining that, Chris. I completely thought that it was just a continuity error, but
I didn't know that either.
Conrad's room.
There were lots of threads that led us here, and like I said, I think they were paid off, or at least paid off sufficiently.
Do you have notes, Chris? All I have is wide-ranging statements that I don't think pertain to anything in particular, but perhaps just the overall nature of the show, the era, and the future of this franchise. So I don't want to throw that in the middle of talking about random nitpicks.
That's fair.
For both of us. Yeah.
What was the original point of the Vindicator? They ran around collecting vibes to make a big Omega gun, huh? No, it was ostensibly to get back to Earth on the specific date and time.
An Omega gun or an Omega gun? Which one do you want to use?
I like Omega.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's right. It's probably wrong if I like it.
Yeah,
so.
We got another Metabolist situation going on here.
Who cares? If it makes fans mad, that's one of the least bad things to make fans mad.
Have you met fandom?
No, I'm just saying I'd rather they're mad about that than something stupid and racist or sexist or homophobic or whatever. Take your pick of isms.
Okay, I'll take that. But to be fair, I mean, Shudi's pronunciation of many words, thanks to his, Rwandan heritage and Scottish upbringing and whatnot, his accent and his pronunciation is such that there's a lot of things that kind of sound odd coming out of his mouth.
I'm the last person to criticize.
So I'm not going to pick on him for that.
That's true. The funny thing is that there's one time where he actually does says, "Oh my god!" And I thought, well, say it like that again, but no, he didn't. The one time he didn't. Anyway.
Yeah, I can bring up the notes here. Well, note number 2, because I already said number 1. Right. It's going toward the what comes later thing, but who cares? I'm going with my stuff in order here. My gut feeling is Billie Piper, if she is playing the Doctor.
No.
We don't know.
I think she is.
We don't know. And all these Google alerts and people I see on social media, whatever, saying, "Oh, Billie Piper announces the next Doctor." No. You horrible, misleading, clickbaity
That's
hat.
true.
I know.
No, she is not.
My favorite local angle story of the day was on the Google alert I got, and it was Swindonian becomes new Doctor Who in dramatic series finale.
That's not bad
because Billy Piper's from Swindon, and so like the local, I'm like, oh, local kid makes great. Look at that, and not Doctor Who. But you know what?
That is a very British thing to do, though.
Here's the thing. I mean. No, although this might pertain to how my closing statements is that, it's so, you need so much explanation as to what nonsense is happening on screen that the average person, who the very person who you're trying to court to watch the show on the overnights, doesn't quite understand the full thing. They see someone regenerating to someone. They don't care what it says in the end credits. They just like, wow, Billy Piper's the new Doctor.
And that's a legitimate thing to think. And also, I just think that RTD goes for the obvious. Much to my dismay, most of the time, he goes for the obvious. And I'm like, all right, fine.
Yes.
That's why I think she's probably the Doctor.
Yes, but as we were talking about before we started the live stream, somebody put a little compilation together of all the end credits from the past. So, introducing David Tennant as the Doctor, introducing Shudigawa as the Doctor, introducing Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor, introducing Billy Piper. That's it.
Just
no more than that.
Let's say I'm wrong. I don't want to hear that explanation either. That one's also going to be bad.
No.
Well,
that's part of my closing statement, Warren. So
okay, sorry. I don't mean to step on your toes.
No. I'm sitting back to it. Anyway, go on, Chris. Sorry.
Like one, as I was saying earlier as well, one thing that I had seen is people postulating that Piper is brought back because Billy Piper and David Tennant are the only people that Americans know from Doctor Who, and they're trying to do this to appeal. To Americans or pick up another U.S.-based distribution deal or whatever, something like that. So, we'll see what happens. But
you could have thrown in literally anybody. Anybody.
If Piper is back and
thrown in Tom Hiddleston, for God's sake.
I was hoping it wouldn't. It would just cut to we don't know who it is. That's what I was kind of hoping for.
Yeah, they're gonna pan out the wide shot, and then thought, oh wow, they're gonna do. Oh no, they're not doing it.
Cut to black.
They're not.
And then we'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
Fine.
I don't know if this is a worthwhile guess or not, but my guess is it's going to have something to do with the retarded energy from Parting the Ways.
Somebody did mention
that.
Maybe
she's the moment or something. Who knows?
I don't think it's
Could
the
be
moment.
Something with the moment, but I
feel
doubt
like
that.
it's TARDIS because he
too.
does the wish thing on the TARDIS. God, it sounds dumb when I think about it, but yeah, yeah.
So anyway, if Piper is back and Piper is playing the Doctor, then I'm really expecting some sort of like 14th Doctor style limited engagement where we get maybe a couple Christmas specials or a spring and a Christmas special or something like that, and then she is on her way for whoever comes next.
And nothing against Billy Piper. If this is what happens, fine. I will still watch it. I'm sure she'll be great as the Doctor, but I just think it feels like it's the usual lack of imagination from RTD.
Yeah. Like somebody said,
she's wearing a white robe. She's not even wearing it's almost like she's the Watcher or something like that.
No, she's wearing the same stuff. It's just glowy.
Waistcoat.
Yeah. She's wearing the same clothes.
Was she? I thought she just had a white top.
At first, I thought that too, but no.
She was wearing the same outfit. She was wearing
the same outfit.
White shirt and the blue pinstripe waistcoat.
Unlike Tennant, when he regenerated from Jodie.
That's true. That is true.
Billy Piper, when she was announced back in the day, over 20 years ago, as we'll all remember, there were many negative remarks about her being brought onto such a, presumably anyway, prestige show, unknown quantity, but prestige show in 2005.
Right. Just showing up here.
But around the same time, things like Secret Diary of a Call Girl, was it the character, the Ruby and the Smoke character?
Whatever that was. Whoever it was.
Yeah.
That character.
Memory's failing me on that front. Somebody will throw it in the chat. I don't doubt. Anyway, like she was showing her chops in general, and she's only gotten better since. Mm-hmm. So if I don't think I have a problem with Piper coming back as an actor, but I do think I have a problem with her coming back as a RTD is just recycling.
I have a problem with RTD, not her.
I've got a bigger, larger picture problem with it, which I'll save to
the problem is not her. The problem is RTD.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
All right.
Notes.
Archie Punjabi's birthday was May 31st. What a way to celebrate by having her character dispensed with so easily.
Apparently she was fine with it. She was like totally cool with being eaten by
Get me off here. Which one do you want to be eating? Me? Get rid of me. Get rid of me. I'm fine. We'll save the old white lady again because that's what RTD loves. Loves his old white ladies. He and John Nathan Turner both. Can we get an old white lady in here? Oh, preferably one who was big on soaps back in the day. Explain the opposition of this.
Also on the topic of dates, not in my notes, but on the topic of dates, as we were kind of talking about last night, like we were talking about like second unit direction and this and that. In Unleashed, they have a little segment on the Seekers and a little segment on Punjabi's wire work for the Omega scene.
Yeah,
and in both cases, the date on the clapperboard was May 24th. So I don't know. If
one of them was May 23rd, for what it's worth.
No, actually, both were May 24th.
It said May 23rd. I looked last night.
I looked. I sent pictures.
I didn't look
May
at all.
24th
So there you go.
No. It's May 24th. It's 24th May for 2024. No, it's not. Anyway, yeah, I had wondered if it's sure. Grab a picture. Let's see it in the live chat here.
I'm too busy.
No,
it's too much work.
It didn't happen. Pixar didn't happen.
Oh god.
Anyway, I had wondered if this was actually shot May 24th last year, or if that was just a joke.
No, probably was. Amazing though. Amazing coincidence that it was.
Maybe
May 24th, but around the same time we can agree on that.
Yeah. Anyway, that whole as you've already kind of brought up, it reminded me of the Lone Cyberman arc at the end of Series 12. Although Ashad came back, and presumably the Ronnie could as well, after unexpected exile to the Underverse.
Right.
Excuse me.
Underverse.
Yeah, which we'll never hear of again.
No.
I did like the conceit of the Time Hotel as an escape method for the cliffhanger.
Agreed.
And also just for it to be a vehicle for reality to enter into the Wish world. Yeah, sure, I can buy that. Why not?
I was down with that. That's kind of a clever way to get through it.
The confines of Doctor Who, sure, bring it. And then, of course, in Unleashed or whatever, RTD was talking about how he had the balcony, falling scene in his brain for years and years and years, but didn't have a way out until Moffat wrote Joy to the World. So cool, great to see that borrowing of ideas and that meshing.
Right.
The return of Anita in general, very welcome. We all dug the character back when we saw Joy to the World, and that didn't change here.
Agreed.
It would have been fun if they were just friends, the whole time through that. And he never mentioned that, maybe I don't fancy you in quite the way that you think I fancy.
Did they? I don't remember. In the Christmas episode, did they sort of?
They spent a whole year together.
Did they hinted her having romantic intentions?
No, never did.
Okay.
So I'll jump a couple notes ahead. If Anita wanted the Doctor's bone beast, hence her looking in on him and seeing the Doctor with Rogue, knowing she had no shot, why wouldn't she have shot her shot back when they spent that year together every day, all day?
Yeah.
So that from a character standpoint, did not make sense.
Didn't like that.
No.
Thank God she got pregnant by someone, though. Thank God for that.
Yeah,
From
this
person who runs HR, Ricardo
we'll never meet.
Yeah. Well, we'll never see her again either, I imagine.
That's probably true.
Except at L.I. Who in August of this year.
And she's at the Hoover's event as well, I think.
Possibly. I don't know if it was on
The past Doctor adventures witnessed by Anita are The Wedding of River Song, Day of the Daleks, and Rogue. I didn't really notice that there was the Dalek that went like in the front of the frame over top of the Day of the Daleks footage.
Not until I saw the behind the scenes demos. I was like, that actually does sell it. That's kind of cool.
I didn't notice Ruby saying that they were in the TARDIS, but I did notice there was a new Dalek shot, because that's where my brain goes, apparently.
In being interviewed about it, Alex Ply seemed so excited. He's
like,
he's like childhood
cool
dream made true, or whatever. He said.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The BBC on YouTube, the BBC account, not the Doctor Who account, but the BBC account, released a video called The Doctor and Rogue's Love Story less than 12 hours before the reality war went out. So I really assume we're going to see more Rogue.
Nope, he's burning in super hell, wherever that is.
Yeah, that's right. He's in hell still. Yep, that's right.
Yeah, maybe he's in the Underverse.
Yeah.
Who could say? We'll
Maybe
never know.
The Ronnie can groom him or something. But anyway, I thought we might see more Rogue because there's so often that there's the social media tie-ins with what's actually going to happen, and
Yeah.
that did not materialize.
Like all the like they did a big thing on. Remember, here's Omega's classic bits and all stuff. Oh, looking forward to some Omega stuff.
Again, I said
big giant skeleton climb through a door.
I said last week, play the clip if you got it. But I said last week, Omega was going to amount to probably nothing.
Well,
in
you
this
were
episode.
right. So fair
And
enough.
I was not far off. Mm-hmm. There was, obviously he made an appearance. He had lines and
He's
whatever.
basically Hitler in Let's Kill Hitler. As if there he is. Put him in the closet. We're done with you. Yeah.
And he needs dental work too.
Yeah. And there's a regeneration in that episode too. So.
When 900 years old you get, looks so good you will not.
Yeah.
Yoda's pulling it off a whole lot better than Omega.
I did like at Unit HQ when the doctor comes in and he's no longer John Smith. All the cops fall through the table and they have
that was cool.
They have their slips. I'm like, oh, that's a nice little bit of continuity that they didn't have to put in, but I appreciated its presence.
Also, it doesn't make sense, but him going from the suit to the kilt, I'm like, I don't know how he did that, but I'm cool that it happened. Like, it was kind of a nice transition.
Yeah, I mean, he takes off his
I guess
blazer, drops it on the floor, and turns the corner from the steps, and boom, there's he's in the
Doctor Who magic, whatever.
in the kilt. Rose Noble returns with a huge statement on trans visibility,
I did like that.
much like the disabled people.
Mm-hmm.
So that was good.
As much use in the Unit HQ as she has had in all the other episodes that she's been in, but to say one line of dialogue, how the thing works, the magic backpack, the teleport backpack.
There were lots of people in the room. Not everyone's going to be able to say much necessarily, but I was a little disappointed she only had the one line, and it was a minute or two after she shows up. But Conrad couldn't see her, therefore she didn't exist and whatever. So it's, like I said, it's a positive for trans visibility for sure. Mel's righteous anger is something we would have never seen in the classic show, but it is nice to see New Who being a little more grown up in that matter. Like we've had a little bit of indignance in the old show, but not like we've had in the new for sure. I think the direction could have used a little bit of work on that one.
Yeah,
but,
I know.
But I get where it's coming from.
Given how much of this episode was apparently cobbled together, I don't know. Maybe it's just like different sources. Hence, the Mel hair thing. Like the fact that her hair is wildly different in the scenes in Unit HQ compared to the ones on the street is just like.
That's helmet. The magic helmet makes it.
I guess so. She's got a perm helmet on where she just puts the helmet on. And,
yeah. I mean, the continuity could have been a little bit better, to say the least.
Very weird.
I didn't really bother taking note of what her hair looked like when she was on the video screen. At the end,
it was the curly hair.
It was the curly hair,
Curly hair, yeah.
And that felt sort of
at least that was
shoehorned too.
And
that was probably like the reason she's on the screen is because Bonnie was off doing something else probably. So that's probably another.
She might have been in New York doing her.
She might have been in New York.
Thing.
She's been in the States for a past while.
Also, I don't need a redemption arc for Conrad. Just let him die in obscurity for all I care.
That's basically what happens. I mean, he definitely goes to obscurity.
Yeah.
Like they say, he didn't. His old persona wasn't remembered even by him.
Good. He sucks.
I love the Ronnie's line about Ruby's 57 mothers. Found that funny.
Right.
The Ronnie using Omega as a gene bank to resurrect the Time Lords. Sure, why not? She's meant to be a brilliant scientist.
Sure.
I don't know how it makes any sense, or this genetic.
Time Lords are sterile now. That's the thing.
I don't get that either.
Which destruction of Gallifrey has made them sterile now? That's why they have to bi-generate, because it's a way to sort of...
the doctor that's why he thinks bi-generation is
that's
the
why
thing.
he thinks.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah,
because Susan is... Yeah, whatever.
Just tied in with the next point.
I know what you're talking about, Warren. Who's Susan? Nothing. God.
Just to tie it in with the next point I had written down, the notion of Time Lords being infertile is an interesting one, creating extra barriers to any new Time Lord society. The Rowdy's "you are cattle" speech should alleviate anyone's concerns about this iteration not being true to the character.
Fair enough.
People are, even seen in the live stream chat, people dissing the Rowdy is like, I'm sorry. I don't know what you were watching, but it wasn't the same thing as me, apparently. Belinda's speech about nobody is taking her daughter finally gives Verita something to really sink her teeth into. Finally.
But
8 episodes in.
They literally put her in a box. They literally put her in a box in this episode because she has nothing else to do. It's amazing. That box, by the way, is the Zero Room. Remember the Zero Room?
Yeah. I do remember the Zero Room. I was like, the whole time.
Yeah.
References.
The zero, and then the Zero Room will be outside of reality, not unlike things like the Void Ship from Army of Ghosts and Doomsday, to bring that
Remember
back.
those berries.
To bring that up. What did we think of Unit HQ battle mode?
Let me tell you what I thought of Unit HQ. It was dumb. Like, here we got these colored lasers are going this way and these colored lasers going that way. Why? Right. Just because. Like,
it was many people have made the connection. John Williams says the Disney execs insisted on a Zero Room reference. The whatchamacallit, the insurance company, quality assurance company from Life of Brian, where the opening sequence of that with skyscrapers attacking each other,
which is one of the best parts of that whole movie, by the way.
Yeah, and the most expensive too. Which is probably what this was too, spending money in all the wrong places.
I guess it makes story sense that Unit would have weapons on their big building, blah blah blah, but it just came off as stupid, frankly. To me,
I think that's within the I think that's within the realm of something Unit could or would do. But two things: number one, the big ship wheel. Could have done without that. Could have done without that.
Oh, and you know what? Like they released like those photos like before the episode happened, and I thought, oh no. I mean, when I saw that, I have to admit, I thought, is they going to say, so it flies now? It says, it flies now. And I was really expecting Unit HQ to break off and be a battleship or something like that.
I wouldn't be shocked if that idea was
I'm glad it didn't.
The thing that really irks me about that on the whole, though, is, they're all these guns, they're firing at the bone beasts and whatever, and all this debris is flying over London, crushing and killing people probably.
Right.
Like, that seems a
but
little...
one person needs to be saved.
That seems a little...
We have to save the
seems a little cavalier. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it seems a little cavalier and kind of against the point of the poppy thing.
Right.
It is nice to see the galvanic cannon back from the giggle, because hey, why not?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's the thing that Neil Patrick Harris used in.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I loved
before they played ball.
I loved Kate giving Ruby the permission to punch Conrad.
That was good. Yeah, agreed.
I was right that Omega was really a non-starter, although we got a little more than I expected. So much for the two Ronnies. It's a good night for me as Mrs. Flood disappears.
My friend Len messaged me about that, and I said, well, on the one hand, I'm scolding RTD for doing it. On the other hand, if you put me in that position, which you should never do, I would probably do the exact same thing. I would not be able to resist temptation. So I get it.
And then all the fandom chatter after the fact of like, did he create by generation just for this joke?
I had another friend, Jake Simpson, friend of the show, asked me, did you guys know about the two Ronnies? I'm like, yes, we got a lot of British stuff in the 80s when we were kids. Yeah. Trust me on this. We did know about the two Ronnies.
Yeah. CBC aired that even.
Yeah, it did. All the time.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? With Mrs. Flood using the time ring, there's no particular reason we can't or won't see either or both of the Ronnies back again. When the Doctor says to Omega he wished he had a weapon hiding in plain sight and then looked upward, I assumed it was going to be the disco ball.
I would have preferred that, honestly.
All right, disco ball.
Imagine the terribleness of the callback to Time of the Ronnie with the little bugs coming out of the ball in the Lucurtian Leisure Center.
That is a bridge too far, sir.
They could have gone that way.
I wouldn't be surprised if they thought about it.
That's within RTD's wheelhouse. I guarantee you. Did I miss something, or did both Ruby and the Doctor know how to use Desiderium's power without ever actually having learned how to do it?
Absolutely.
Also,
that bugged me too.
Did Ruby and Belinda meet each other for the first time on the Unit?
Yes.
HQ, and like she's already said, you have a baby. Like I never understood why suddenly Ruby is like fully aware of who this person is and that she has a baby. That was also remarkably glossed over.
And
Yeah.
I didn't put it in my notes, but John Williams with the I did like the idea of don't forget, Stephen, you can put these comments as a prominent thing.
Thank you. Yeah.
So
Well,
I did. John Williams saying he liked the idea of the Ronnie taking Christmas off, and so that was great. I loved that. That was a good line.
yeah.
So the whole thing of Ruby and etc. and RTD generally doing this reminds me of, I'm going to make a call back to the Five-ish Doctors when they go to Stephen Moffat planning out the Day of the Doctor, and he just goes back to his little action figures playing with them. That's kind of what RTD does with all this.
This is like what if mix Dave Filoni with Alice Kurtzman, and you get RTD. Basically, is kind of basically how Doctor Who is now.
I'm writing Doctor Who right now.
Yeah, he's Warren is
as
waving
I gyrate my action dollies.
Yeah, in a non-sexual fashion. Everyone.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Any more notes, Chris?
Yeah. The story felt very lopsided, as once the Ronnies and Omega and Conrad are all dealt with, there's still about a half an hour left of the episode. And obviously, as a result, the pacing dramatically changes from rush to slow.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I don't think it worked here.
No, because it's not building up anything. You know, it's building towards, at some point, we're going to remember the Poppy was here, and we're waiting for it. We're just like, how long is it going to take for people to finally clue in that Poppy is gone and we need to save Poppy? And that part just sort of took too long, honestly.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I expected there was going to be some languishing toward the end, but I didn't expect 25-ish minutes.
Yeah. As people are saying in the chat, Ruby gets no goodbye. She already had her goodbye, and it was overwrought. It was overwrought last season. So Larry, just remember that, and you can use that as your Ruby Sunday goodbye. She doesn't get two goodbyes. I mean, it would be kind of unfair for Ruby to get two goodbyes when
I don't like
doesn't
the
even
idea
have a
of Milhouse
character.
getting two goodbyes.
That's true. Yeah. Anyway.
The scene where the Doctor and Belinda are passing Poppy's jacket back and forth as they move from talking to Poppy to talking about where they want to go, forgetting Poppy as that conversation goes on. It's kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah, but it was, as I said, I clued into it the second they all turned their back on the,
of course,
the crib there.
But the acting, I still like the acting. The performance
was good
was
acting.
Performance was
Yeah,
good.
like I said, visually, I liked what they were doing there. So
Yeah.
Oh, they say hello, by the way. Who does? The boss. So
Bruce Springsteen.
laying some groundwork for the future. And
lays the groundwork for nothing,
and
as far as I'm concerned.
who did the meep work for? The boss.
Oh, right, the boss.
Great. Boy, what a mystery that we'll never find an answer to, and I don't want to.
Not the first mention of the boss. We're seeing what RTD is putting down for the future, if there's a future.
Right.
More on that later. Cat in the chat says boss is boss from Green Death.
Let me be fair and spread the hate here. The whole thing with what's her name, Mrs. Kevorkian, or whatever her name was, that amounted to a whole lot of nothing too. So whatever her name was, where she was looking for the view thing.
Yeah.
So Moffat is also guilty of this, even though I profess my love for his hero. He also committed these crimes.
Francis Barber's character.
Exactly. Yes. So that kind of stuff is not just limited to RTD.
No,
but it's annoying either way. No. So
it's no different than Torchwood being planted as a seed or Saxon being planted.
No,
as
because
a
you
seed.
actually saw Torchwood eventually.
Yeah, so we'll see the boss eventually.
I don't. This assumes that RTD is going to be the showrunner, and I don't think he is. But okay,
we'll see. We'll see.
Time will tell. I mean, RTD kept talking about, more over and over and over. Nothing is happening with Disney until after the second series has run its course, and that's now happened. So we'll see what gets announced in time.
I'll let Steven say it because I think he's probably put more thought into it than I have. But
I have way too much thought.
But I bet you I'm going to agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we'll talk about that as part of your
Sorry.
thing.
Go on.
I really disliked the revisionism about Belinda's life. The time explosion when she was a baby, saving her from being hit by a car at age 7. But mostly, I dislike the revisionism around Belinda trying to get home to Poppy instead of wanting to travel on the TARDIS. It does help make the audience understand Belinda's motivations more, but only by thinking they're being smart the writers. But the writers are changing the rules of the game.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
At the goal line, and it's a big FU to the audience.
Felt like we were being gaslit,
Absolutely.
basically.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you can't be trusted with this information, or well, there's a few ways to interpret it, but it's
Reality changed around her or whatever, but
it's a sloppy bit of writing at best. The doctor promises Belinda on his life that he'll find Poppy, and that's kind of what he does. He trades his life for hers.
That's very doctory.
Very doctory. Did I put? It's coming up yet. Jodie
Whittaker.
Loved it. Shouldn't be there. Loved it anyway.
Love to see her. Yep.
I thought RTD captured the essence of her doctor without having written for her previously.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt when it's just as short a scene as it is at 2.5, 3 minutes, whatever it is. And it's nice to see Thaz been brought up as a notion.
I mean, I think that's just another fan, wish gone to we wanted Thazman to happen. So you know what, RTD, nuts to you, Chibnall. I'm going to retcon your era of Doctor Who now too, and say, and that's basically what he does there. Just as another hat tip to fans.
How did you phrase it yesterday, Stephen? RTD just brought out all the greatest hits or something like that.
Oh, that's all RTD has done.
That's his whole
entire
second
time.
season.
That's his whole second season is the greatest hits, which I'll get to again.
With varying rewards.
God, I've got
some of them.
I've got a lot.
And
to say
I loved
this.
seeing Jodie again. Like I said, it doesn't really actually add anything to it other than me seeing it. But it also reminded me, I love Jodie and I love her crew. I don't know if I necessarily loved all the stories, but that whole crew, they were great, and I miss them. And I might miss this crew a year or two down the road, but we'll see. But right now, in the thick of it, not so much.
I miss the thick of it too, but that's another show.
Well, of course you do, yeah.
I watch it all the time.
You just miss Peter Capaldi.
Oh boy, yeah,
rightly so.
Yeah.
I don't have much left here. What do I have left? The doctor scans Belinda to verify her Mundy Flynn affiliation back in the day, and Belinda chastises him for doing it. It's totally fine for him to scan Poppy.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So it's like
because we had to know that Poppy wasn't a Thomas child.
And if I know anything about mothers, and I don't, if she's going to get indignant about her being scanned, she's really going to get indignant about the kid being scanned.
Right.
Even being mother ignorant, as am I. You're absolutely right about that.
The doctor sacrificing his incarnation to save another life is very last of the Time Lords. Also very parting of the ways, but very last of the Time Lords. And like I was saying yesterday, I am so pissed off at RTD for making me talk about last of the Time Lords in this today.
You said the end of time, actually. You're more worried about having to talk about the end of time in
That's
a group
the end of
chat.
time. Last of the Time Lords is what
Either
I
or,
meant.
why not?
Right, yeah.
Last of the Time Lords is what I meant. Sorry if I said end of time.
Well,
that's right.
Whatever.
I didn't see that bit.
No, end of time. Yeah, why did I write down Last of the Time Lords? No, I didn't.
Well, they're both
I did
crappy,
mean the
so
end
go
of
for
time.
it.
I know.
Either applies.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's right.
All frazzled apparently, but yes,
we all are. Credits for rolling, by the way. We have officially hit the
Sweet.
The duration of the
But
episode.
anyway,
in this chat,
screw you, RTD, for making me have to think about that and reference it. But yeah, parting the ways. He did the same thing there as well. So why not do it a third time?
Why not indeed?
Why not? Seemed to work before.
That was sarcasm.
I know.
We know.
The last thing I'd written down is I still wonder about Shooty Gatwa's season 3 shooting soon remarks from the Graham Norton show.
He meant the reshoots.
Which is that was October 2024.
When he was about to embark on the Importance of Being in Earnest, which was wrapping up in January, I believe, which is why there were reshoots in February. You
Critically
can
acclaimed,
tell that
too.
because the breath that you can see when he's lying on the grass in that scene. All that was February reshoots, basically.
I mean, he's got short sleeves on. I think cold as hell. Like, wow.
Well, they probably had Stephen Powell to throw coats on him, as they often do.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, as his coding helper, or whatever you call him.
That's what his work experience was this week. Yeah, throwing coats on people. Yeah. Is that it for your
It is, but just to go to the thing, I think it's scrolled past. I think it was Steve Manford who was talking about the Belinda glitch in Robot Revolution. She's on the rocket ship.
Oh right, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I thought the idea that was she glitched out of her original reality when during the robot revolution on the rocket ride, and she had a daughter in the original. Is that? I mean, of all the times that Doctor Who does flashbacks, including to things that happened previously in the episode, oddly enough, they never really went back and re-glitched that. If that was the case,
that seems
also
like
Steve Manfred is the proper logo.
Yeah.
Seems like an oversight in retrospect, especially as you say, given they did flashback to other stuff.
Yeah.
And so why not? If anything, it makes more sense to flashback to 7 episodes ago that people have, things that people have put out of their minds in the meantime.
Right. Well, Warren, do you have?
No, I would like to hear what you have to say because I think we're going to agree on pretty much all of this.
I mean, I said at the beginning of this about how I enjoyed it more or less, and then the Billy Piper regeneration scene happened, and then I got annoyed and was in a funk for literally the entire day, and it just shows that Doctor Who basically is now. In another Slack, I mentioned somebody was saying about somebody spoiled. Doctor Who for me, but they don't seem to spoil Andor. And I just instinctively replied back, is that because Andor has plots and storylines, whereas Doctor Who has shock reveals? Mm-hmm. And that's basically what RTD Doctor Who is. It's shock reveal. It's not built up, but you can easily spoil it because you could just say Billy Piper is the Doctor and you explain basically everything that happens in this. There's no actual plot or storyline happening. It's basically someone writing stuff, trying to get publicity or get a reaction, an instant reaction, and coast on that for a while until the next instant reaction. These aren't stories being crafted. They are reveals being crafted that will get attention.
The British press is massively problematic, to say the least.
Hugely problematic.
But
yes, absolutely.
But these shock reveals and stuff still get enough traction, still get enough press, still get enough whatever that he keeps doing them because he hasn't been. It hasn't not worked.
He has for the wonderful, for the
as far as people, people word of mouth and articles online and whatever.
In Britain, I feel like these two seasons have basically been made in spite of Disney money. It's almost like, you sent me a story note about the church on Ruby Road. Well, I'm going to make the most insular and British show for Disney Plus than you can ever imagine. Basically.
I mean, part of me admires that, to be honest.
It's like, I remember at the beginning of this whole thing, when I think, when's a good jumping on point for Doctor Who? Up until now, it's always been like, the 11th hour has always been a perfect thing. I thought, you know what? This will be the perfect, because there's no back catalog in Disney Plus. You could just jump right in, and this will be your launching point of Doctor Who. And it 100% has not been. It has been caked. It is Doctor Who now is caving in under its own history. That you listen to this nonsense that we have to keep talking about. This regeneration. This is the first time that Gallifrey got exploded, and this and this. Because it's not plots and storylines. It's reveals and this and who's returning and everything. And when I saw Billy Piper show up there, it's like I'm not so much annoyed that so Billy Piper is doing this now. It's like, how are we going to explain this away now? In the next time that Doctor relaunches as a new... Wait, let me finish, Chris, please.
Yes. I thought you were.
Oh, God, I'm not going to finish. It's like, now we have to explain why this is this, and this is this, and this, and this. You can never start fresh. I think back to... I mean, I would never ever want to do this now, but in 1970, 69, 70... they said, you know what? Let's basically
exactly what I was thinking
reboot Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. They had the confidence and maybe desperation to reboot the format, completely change the show.
And they wanted to save money.
They wanted to save money.
Massive factor in that, though.
And it's honestly, that is what actually, like, oh wow, Doctor Who can be anything now. We can do anything, and it became an icon because of that.
Yeah, and within 2 years, everyone regretted it.
And everyone regretted it, and they probably shouldn't have. And honestly, I don't know how you do it, but Doctor Who needs, like, a big refresh.
Well, two things on
Big
two things.
refresh right now.
And when Chris, you're done, I'd like to throw something in.
Possibly,
Go first,
yes.
please.
So it's just two quick things about that. Number one, and I sent you guys a screenshot of it earlier. Advertising from Disney about Doctor Who.
Right.
You know, the first 3 words in their promotion: rediscover the classics. What? Classics where?
Right? I know.
The specials.
Those don't exist
Yeah.
on Disney Plus. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then number 2, go back 17 episodes of this show on stage at Galley with Julie Gardner and Stephen Moffat. And I asked Julie Gardner very directly, you know, back in the day, 2005, there was a slow trickle of lore coming out from RTD's scripts.
Yeah.
It was season 3 by the time we heard the word Gallifrey. Did Disney have any problems with the just the sheer dumping of the lore from the get-go with their involvement? And she said, nope, no problems.
Well, there's a reason for that.
Okay.
Well, the base of the reason-
sorry, Warren. I know you want to, but
No, it's good. I'd rather Stephen go ahead and then I'll throw my 2 bits in.
I mean, the Disney thing. Let's face it. I floated this idea from what I heard at Gallifrey 1 in February, and then after the fact, it says, "Wait a second, can I confirm that?" And I more or less have. And basically, Doctor Who exists on Disney Plus because Bluey, the international rights of Bluey, are owned by BBC Studios.
And insanely lucrative, probably.
Very lucrative. Seasons 1 and 2 of Bluey aired on the Disney Channel. And when it came time that the 3rd season of Bluey came along, Disney really wanted to have, hey, can we have that on our new streaming service, Disney Plus? That would be great. And BBC Studios says, well, sure, that'd be a great thing. Tell you what, our current run of Doctor Who is coming to an end. We'd sure love some outside funding. How about we get you to pay for 26 episodes of Doctor Who over the course of 2 seasons, and then you can have Bluey, and that's what they did.
Do you think it was a money pitch, or was it a distribution pitch?
I think it was both. I think it was distribution and it was money. And
because the whole distribution thing, as we've talked about in the past, you know, because that's ticking off. Well, not ticking off, but I mean, it's taking things away from, was it Channel 10 in Australia? Whatever channel was broadcasting.
No idea.
It was taking away from, public broadcasts in Australia. It was taking away from Crave. It was taking away from BBC America. It was taking
It should have been taken away from Crave, frankly, but okay.
Yeah, Crave mishandled it. Nevertheless, the BBC had basically decided that, we're going to end the relationship with all these global partners to put all of our eggs in the one basket.
Right.
And I think it's fair to say that this basket has holes.
Well, yeah. Well, they wanted a streaming partner. I think that much is sure. They certainly wanted a co-production partner. Jane Tranter's been talking about that all the time.
And you were talking about it previous to this too.
And this is why when you hear RTD talk about the timeline of everything, when he came on board, basically the deal was already in place. So that puts that into line around 2021. I think is when this sort of happened.
About Disney being already
aboard before RTD came. It was Bad Wolf was already involved with BBC Studios, or BBC Studios. Maybe they got Bad Wolf and then they got RTD because RTD dropped in the thing. Let's do a 3 Tenant specials and something for the 60th. And then, perfect. They did it. 26 episodes. The deal was announced in June of 2022 that Bluey was coming to Disney Plus.
All right.
October of that year, the Monday after The Power of the Doctor went out, that's when the Disney thing was announced on Doctor Who. November 2022. Bob Chapek was replaced once again by Bob Iger as the CEO of Disney. And he sort of righted the ship a little bit because Disney was starting to go down. If you look at the stock price in June, I think, when they made the announcement, I don't have the quote at it, it was way up high, and it literally halved by the time November came along, which is why Chapek was out. So when you think, Disney negotiations and stuff, I don't think there was ever a chance that Doctor Who was going to progress past the 26 episodes, which includes all the specials and the last 5 episodes of War Between the Land and Sea. I think the deal was done and dusted
Where do they go?
Done and dusted.
Where do they go from here? Do they go back to BBC American?
I don't know where they go.
Hat in hand, or
I don't know where they go.
Do they start? Are we going to get Battle Plus? Are we going to have their own streaming service?
No, because I mean, Sony's kicked in to
60 million or whatever it was.
I don't know.
It'll
what
be on
it
the
was.
PlayStation streaming service, which is an actual thing on the PlayStation.
But I mean,
Sony movies.
Sony has specifically not launched their own streaming service. They don't want anything to do with that. They're more than happy to pay other places to distribute. So I don't know where it's go, but I
doesn't mean they won't change their mind in time.
Yeah,
but yes.
I can 100% pretty much guarantee you that it's not coming back to Disney Plus. And maybe they knew that. Maybe they thought, well, hell, we're just going to use Disney's money and just make the most BBC one show Saturday night nonsense.
Yeah.
Should we though? I mean, here's the thing about R2D2 is that R2D2, literally the era R2D2, is that he still thinks it's 2005.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
he still thinks we got to get those overnight. What are the overnights, Chris? 2.2 million, which is the most for a BBC show.
Yeah,
2.2 million, and it's the number one show.
Number one on the BBC, number two behind Britain's Got Talent.
He still thinks it's 2005 in his head. He's still writing the show that gets the chatter and the ratings from 2005
on the press, which is less relevant too.
And as we were talking about before going on the live stream,
right?
The top 10 for Disney Plus, of the top 10, 4 or 5 are Lilo and Stitch based things. Number 8 was it? It's a Good Day to Die Hard. One of the latter Die Hard films, if not the last Die Hard film. At number 8 in the top 10. Cat. When we were looking at that, I pointed it out, and Kat's like, "What? Did something happen to Bruce Willis?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, he's got a thing going on."
Yeah.
But if a Bruce Willis film is going to enter the Disney Plus top 10,
okay.
If it's going to enter the Disney Plus top 10, you think it's going to be the original Die Hard, not one of the late sequels.
Yeah. Well,
but the point being, Doctor Who was nowhere near there.
Well,
and then before, you might even be saying this, and I apologize, but the other day I sent you guys an article from Variety
posted
about the top 100. The top 100 shows in 2024, 2025.
Yep.
And first off, Disney Plus hit at number 45.
45 is the highest.
With Agatha All Along.
Yeah.
That was their highest entrant. And number 2, Doctor Who was nowhere.
Andor wasn't there either. Skeleton Crew was like down in the 80s. There were a couple other shows that I hadn't even heard about that were in there somewhere. Those like 4 or 5 entries in the top 100 on Disney Plus. So even you think about Disney Plus does not get anywhere near. Netflix is still the king. Let's face it.
Yeah,
and honestly, a lot of those things was
by a wide margin.
Was broadcast TV, everyone, because there are still 80-year-olds in the U.S. who watch broadcast TV, and that's where all of it is. Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not going to say what.
As Neil says in the chat, TV is doomed. Honestly,
TV as we knew it is dead. Yes.
I complained. I mean, I sort of complained about this a few weeks ago about how if Doctor Who is now entering a hiatus, honestly, the TV industry itself needs to sort itself out. Because it's I don't know what it is right now. It's teetering.
It doesn't know either.
Doctor Who is like the last thing basically to become a niche program. Like it took this long. I mean, it's always been a niche program, but they sort of like been targeting the ratings in the UK and stuff like that. But well, congratulations, Doctor Who. You've succeeded now, just becoming like every other show with its own niche audience. And this is my other problem. So, like, are we trying to get new viewers, or are we trying to just shock old viewers into big reveals and stuff like that? It's in
talking about like Netflix and broadcast TV and this and that, obviously things fluctuate, but if you look at like things that have dominated Netflix viewing over the years, you've got things like Big Bang Theory, Friends, stuff that was broadcast TV, and people are now mainlining on streaming. So it's, I mean, you can't even. It's very difficult to split the two, even though they are massively different animals.
They are.
Okay,
Go ahead.
And,
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And sorry, we're on one last thing I just want to get out before it exits my brain. As far as the money that Disney put into Doctor Who, it's still a drop in the bucket to what they've spent on Star Wars properties. That there's no way they have recovered that.
Oh, absolutely not. Andor, they paid close to not $1 billion, but getting there for it, and I'm happy they did. But
yeah, I mean, the Acolyte and Obi-Wan and Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett, and whatever else,
Ahsoka.
But there's all these. What was the Jude Law one? Whatever that one was. We watched
Skeleton
that.
Crew.
That was Skeleton Crew. I didn't hate that, even though it was kids focused. But anyway, like those are all Sarlacc money pits.
Yeah.
Sorry, Warren.
Well, I was going to say, just in terms of the show, and this is more sort of broad view, like this show has been around for 20 years as of around now.
The current iteration.
The current iteration has. And I was talking to a friend of mine she's more of a Star Trek fan than a Doctor Who fan, but she watched the finale, asked what I thought, and I said to her, well, this is how I feel about where we're at now. And where we're at now is where Enterprise was. About the same time frame, too. Like, TNG comes back, DS9 comes back, Voyager, liked or hated it, comes back. Then by the time you get to Enterprise, you're like, they're spinning the wheels, they're doing the same damn thing over and over again, and it just feels like it needs a rest, which it did, and I'm not sure the reboots did a great job, but whatever, it needed a rest. Yep. And that, I kind of feel Doctor Who's in the same position now. It has had 20 years, which is a miracle in terms of modern television, right? On top of the classics era, like the fact that this ever happened. So I have no problem with it taking like a hiatus. Will I miss it? Of course I will. But I just think if you keep going the way you're going, it's going to be just the same old member berries over and over, and that doesn't serve anybody. We're just going to end up hating it.
If nothing else, you bust out your DVDs, you tune
on the iPlayer.
Tune into whatever streaming service that has Doctor Who, and you get your fix. Like,
the current show is telling people, is already showing, like, every single episode now, though, shows a clip of a past episode. It feels like, remember that one used to mean something?
I just feel like we're spinning our wheels, and that's just not all RTD's fault. This would have happened eventually if you're 20 years into a series. Well, that is so rare to begin with.
As was said in the live stream chat, was it Neil? I can't recall. Somebody is saying how, back in the day, RTD would never put the Fendal in because nobody knew who they were. But now that all the stuff is on iPlayer, he'd have no problem doing it.
Yeah.
So, that's also going to change, potentially anyway, change the frequency of those continuations, of those callbacks, of those reimagining of old characters, whatever.
Just end them. I mean, here's the thing: when you look at the reveals over the, I just thinking about like big reveals of characters, which is what Doctor Who has done a lot in the 20 years, and I'm trying to think like when Moffat and Chibnall, for instance, both revealed the Master in theirs, they did it apart from the one in Dr. Falls when John Sim returns. Missy reveals herself to be the Master to the Doctor. Sacha Dhawan reveals himself to be the Master to the Doctor. Think about RTD stuff. Rassilon to no one. Billy Piper to no one. The Ronnie to no one. Basically, like they're basically meant for the fans. For shock reveals as opposed to pushing.
Daleks were shown to Eccleston, though.
Daleks, exactly. That was a good one there. Cybermen also. David Tennant recognizes the Cybermen, but like all the other reveals,
that was halfway through. That was halfway through the season as well.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to bring back things, make them pertinent to the story. Whereas a lot of these shock reveals are to the audience without even anyone who is nearby having any relevance to it.
They're to social media is what
they're just social media.
What they are, to get the CanCon in here, is how people in Parliament, and this probably happens in the UK too, would make big statements just to get on social media. That being in Parliament is not about the procedure; it's about making your statement so it gets on social media. There's an element of that here as well.
There is. That's why. Like I don't know what a reboot
these days fans are winning lost on TikTok though.
Yeah. Which is a stupid way to run things, frankly. Or it's not conducive to good storytelling anyway.
Like, you remember like 2 or 3 years ago, it sort of died down a little bit. Like every show seemed to have, we have to have a viral dance sequence in this show. So Wednesday had a dance sequence and stuff like that. And Megan, like, that thankfully has died down. Like, I don't know who they're making the show for right now. Are they making it for the diehard fans? Are they making it for the kids? Are they making it for the adults? Are they making it for the overnight viewers? Are they making it for iPlayer? Are they making it for Disney Plus?
Do they even know?
Do they even know? It feels like a mishmash. Yeah. They haven't landed on anything like this. This is why, I saw Derek compare, and I've sort of beat the drum on this too a little bit. We needed Tony Gilroy to do a Doctor Who. We need someone who doesn't really even like Doctor Who, that wants to make good TV on the bones of Doctor Who, as opposed to...
They understand
and make it for the kids. It doesn't have to cater to me.
I mean, how do you, as I've said this before too, how can a bunch of people, how can a 60-year-old man who has no children make a show for kids? Like he doesn't, but everyone just wants kids, right? There we go. You know, I feel like if you're going to make a kids show, make it something. I know Verity Lambert didn't have kids and didn't like kids. Maybe that's what made it good. Maybe that's why kids latched on because, you know, kids don't want to watch kids for one. That's why they hated every single Child Genius on every show ever made.
Well, adults also hated Child Geniuses.
The thrill for kids watching stuff is to watch stuff that they think that they shouldn't be watching. It's the
makes
danger.
them feel smart. It's
the danger of it, you know? I shouldn't be watching this, but I'm watching this. This is why I'm watching behind the sofa because I'm scared by this. You know, I should be put to bed right now, but I can't because this is really enticing and I'm watching something, you know, dangerous and stuff. Don't cater to kids. Kids don't like that. They don't want that. They want to watch something that's slightly above. They want to reach to something, you know?
It's like how they want to hang with the older kids. TV allows them to do that.
Exactly. And the best of Doctor Who, always, like even you look at Tom Baker era stuff, for instance, for digging back, you know, nowadays the tone of some of those Tom Baker Hinchcliffe episodes are like, wow, we wouldn't show this to kids. It's like, it's shocking almost. And it was done at a cheap BBC studio. You know, that's the kind of mentality I think you have to have when you're if you're going to pitch to kids, you know?
Did Sidney Newman have kids?
I don't know. I don't know if he did or not. We never hear. Graham Burke would tell us in his wonderful book, Head of Drama. Right. But
very possibly. Because I mean, you say like, who are they making it for? Do they even know? At the end of the day, is there any point in targeting a specific audience versus trying to make something for mass appeal?
No, honestly. I don't think there is anymore.
If you're making something for mass appeal, then you're not making it for any particular segment, which means it might appear that they're not making it for anyone.
Yeah, bifurcated. They're doing it for mass appeal, which isn't working, and they're also giving us all these references that only dorks like us know, which also doesn't work.
Exactly.
That's
falling between the cracks. Yeah,
and that goes back to Derek's remark about Tony Gilroy. Or just where
not to bang the Android drum, it could be anybody.
Yeah,
exactly. But the point being, somebody who isn't a lifelong fan of the show probably might be best taking it over.
I agree. I mean, the distribution angle of it is a troublesome aspect because it's a BBC. You know, if BBC Studios is going to make it, they got to put it somewhere, and it's tough. That's the thing that's tough to do. Disney Plus was a good distributor because at least everywhere in the world had it. You didn't have to tell, well, you can watch it in this country on this, and this country on that, and all that. I think it would be a great idea if the BBC is stuck making the show for the next couple of years or something on their own dime, have 3-episode arcs, one a year or something like that, and it's actually a contained story. It's not epic,
like Luther,
like Luther or something like that.
Or even Sherlock is like that too. More or less,
and make it like we've. Certainly in this era, RTD, I think, has replaced quirkiness with epic. And Doctor Who is better when it's quirky. And this era that we've just been through, Ncuti Gatwa's era, has never been quirky. It's always focused on the epic because they thought, look at the money rolling in from Disney. We can make anything. And I think they've lost sight of what actually is the core of what people watch Doctor Who for. It's the quirkiness.
Just because you could doesn't mean you should.
You know? Like when people are sharing stuff on TikTok, it's not like, look at these massive CG bone beasts wandering around a fake London. It's look at Doctor Who and Clara being funny together. Look at Matt Smith running around like a funny guy, you know?
Depends who's making the post. If it's coming from RTD, BBC, something like that, it is, look at these bone beasts. If it's coming from
because they spend good money on it.
But it's actually people who watch the show. This is what we're taking from it.
If it's coming from fans, they're going to be like, oh, isn't this moment sweet between, as you say?
None of it matters. We watch TV show for characters, you know? Chris Chibnall said we are story addicts, and we are story addicts. We're not shock addicts. We're not there in it to be revealed.
That's why procedurals are so popular, because procedurals are all about the character. Not that this should be a procedural, but that's why they work.
Yeah,
the shock revelations
they get immediate. It's just immediate sugar hits, and then nothing. It just dies. And then, we got to get another one.
Is immediate sugar hits. That's what. Maybe that's what people want, but it's as we've seen over the last 10 years, is it doing us any good?
It hasn't. I think it's shifting, and I think the makers of the show right now are behind on that. They think that they're just after the tabloid hits, and it's. I
just want to go read a book, frankly, at this point.
Right?
So, maybe a Doctor Who book.
Yeah, make Doctor Who quirky again. Is what I say. Basically.
Anyway, I don't want to be such a negative Nelly, but this just kind of left me. And like I said, I didn't hate it. I was just very indifferent, and I don't like being indifferent to Doctor Who.
I don't either, and that's kind of how I felt through this.
I forget who said it, but I saw something on Facebook. Somebody is saying, even if I hate Doctor Who, I still love Doctor Who.
Oh, absolutely, yes, absolutely.
That's how I think a lot of people might be feeling these days. It's. We're not mad. We're disappointed.
Yeah, exactly. It's the classic boomer dad thing to say.
Yeah,
or mom, I guess.
Is there anything else about the episode and Doctor Who? Yeah. An hour and 45 minutes into this thing.
I dare say yes. We haven't talked. I don't think anyway. Talked enough about Billy Piper.
I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. Actually, I was a little mad.
Didn't we? I thought Billy Piper was basically the symptom of the problem that is Doctor Who right now.
Like I said, nothing against her. If they have
for the shock value conversation, yes. But okay, we've had the shock. We've had time to process the shock. Going forward, again, we don't even know if Billy Piper is going to be the Doctor.
No.
Sure as hell looks like it, obviously, but that's what we're meant to see.
For the obvious.
Could have put in it. They could put Kate Winslet in there. You could have put Ariana Grande as the Doctor. Well, whoever. They could have done like a whole bunch of different endings, like who
Lilo
killed Mr.
or
Burns.
Stitch.
Lilo and Stitch are now Doctor Who. Well done. They could have put Tom Hiddleston in there. All right,
oh my God.
Now Richard E. Grant. Name a person. They could have shot a billion.
Now that we have Billy Piper there,
right?
What, like I said before, about my suspicion is we might get a couple 3 episode short engagement thing. What do you guys think they're gonna do with her?
I think you're right. I think it's gonna be a short little thing.
It's gonna be a Harry Styles Marvel
Thanos' brother for some reason.
Mid-credit sequence, and maybe it'll just be forgotten like all those.
Or maybe the show is gone for a while, and this is just a footnote.
And there you go.
Which I'm not cheering for, by the way.
No, we're not coming back for a while, so let's just put a thing in there. Yeah. What do you think, Chris? What do you think about...
I already said.
Oh.
I literally just said.
You think it's going to be 3 episodes and they're going to be Billy Piper?
Some short run, 3, 4, maybe 6.
Watch it be like I'm just the watcher. I'm just going to hand it off. It's going to be 1 episode. Watch it be a pre-credit sequence. Watch it be that. Watch it be Billy Piper immediately regenerates into someone else or something.
Through happenstance rather than design. That's what we got for Paul McGann.
I suppose. I think Chris's solution, such as it is the best one we're going to get. We shouldn't have been put in this place in the first place.
No.
I think they should have just ended it with, we don't know who it is, to be continued. And
then you could pick it up wherever you want.
Leave it up for grabs.
You are burdening whoever else is picking up the show when this is done now, because now they feel, okay, well, now we have to do something now,
And there's an air finality, at least for me, there is. So.
And like RTD himself didn't do it. He didn't pick up, well, where did the TV movie end off? That's where we have to pick up from. No, we just started it fresh. God, those are the days when we started things fresh without having to rely on past continuity.
They still backfilled in time.
When
time is the point.
In time. Yeah.
Like I was talking about earlier with the amount of history that came into Doctor Who in 2005 versus 2024. There's a massive increase in just info dumps and
it's crushed under its own weight, frankly,
and nostalgia and whatever. And it's. I think that was a bad choice.
Yeah.
In an era where we didn't get Daleks.
Right.
Didn't get Cybermen.
I mean, that wouldn't have added anything.
Didn't get the Master.
Frankly.
No. Because would those have been shock reveals at all?
Didn't get, you name it, Ice Warriors or anything else for.
Well, we've already had all them. I mean,
No, I know, but like RTD obviously made a decision to not go anywhere near there. The Ronnie being, a notable exception, but people chastised Chibnall for doing the same thing in 11. So I don't know if we should be chastising RTD or praising him or
rebooting is one thing. Doing it in an entertaining fashion is another, perhaps. So, yeah.
And at the same time, after we let all this invective out, or less invective in Chris's case, some people, this is the first time they ever watched Doctor Who. If they enjoyed it, I can't take that away from them. No. I shouldn't. Like, I'm glad they enjoyed it. And all these references might sail past them. They don't care. Great. Right. But for me, I just can't. I personally just can't. I can't deal with it.
To at least to very briefly go back to overnights. Of those 2.2 million who watched, there's going to be some of those doubtless that was.
And I'm happy they're happy.
First Doctor Who,
but I'm kind of like nonplussed, frankly. So,
but as we've said before, somebody's first and favorite Doctor Who is the Twin Dilemma. So
that's true.
Those people should be
There's
committed.
a new Doctor coming up. It was dark and depressing last week, but look at this. Bird people on this week. I'm going to watch.
One thing I didn't
There's
talk
twins. Yeah.
One thing that I didn't talk about story plot whatever wise is the whole Space Babies. Poppy's presence in Space Babies and Poppy's shoehorning in last half of the series. There's no usable explanation there.
No, that's Commander Maxwell in baby form.
And with Belinda gone, I don't think we're going to get one going forward either.
No, God, no.
Explanations, you fool!
Unless it's a brief bit of dialogue from the Doctor saying whatever, blah blah blah.
Please don't, just don't.
No hand waving.
Some hand waving. But
I'd rather we don't get explanations. Frankly, just start something new.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my brain wants that. My brain wants that bridge to be gapped, or that gap to be bridged, rather.
You and Moffat are similar. He did that, and he was very good at
bridge.
There are way too many threads to close that you're just going to have to keep referencing things forever and ever instead of telling a story. And I want stories.
Well, I mean that's
you love stories. In fact,
I love stories.
You're not
me. Yeah.
You're definitely not wrong. I wholeheartedly agree with you, Stephen. However, there's also the flip side of, as a showrunner, how many doors do you want to close?
All of them, and then open the ones that you need to.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you're still going back to the same thing. That's the point. Like the resolution for the Pantheon thing. Like you were wanting, hoping, expecting, whatever, something in a tidy bow that we didn't get.
Well, because it was dumb, and I wanted it to go away.
The reasoning is
that was why.
The reasoning doesn't matter so much as the hope is my focus here. But anyway, like I say, how many doors do you want to close? How many times Skaro was destroyed in Remembrance, and the Daleks are still there. Mondas was destroyed in 1966. Oh, Cybermen, they just tell us whatever.
They survived.
The explanations and side stories and all that are in many cases very janky. But what are you going to do? Like I say, as a showrunner, how many doors do you want to close? How many times do you want to say, I'm never using Monster X again?
Close doors, but don't lock them, basically.
This show used to have no respect for continuity, and I respected that. And this now it seems to have too much respect for continuity, much like Star Trek did.
Yeah, and it does, let's face it.
And probably other shows I can't think of.
I mean, say what you will about Star Trek Voyager. It is the last Star Trek show that does not rely on a previous Star Trek show.
It just goes off and does its thing.
Enterprise,
whether you like it or not, it does
prequel,
do that.
Star Trek, J.J. Abrams movies, prequels, Discovery, prequel,
Strange New Worlds,
Picard, sequel, everything's just floating around that whole area, with established stuff.
Lower Decks is not.
Lower Decks is 100% referencing literally everything in Star Trek.
You're just baiting them at this point.
I absolutely am, yes.
But how much is it? How much is Doctor Who? How much is the industry? Or there's,
I don't know. I don't know.
That's my answer. Sigh. Frustrated sigh.
Just to put it out there. So let's say Disney is out.
Right.
They're not coming back.
I think
so. Obviously, their money it's not coming.
Nope.
Not coming back into production coffers. Are we? And we're the Bad Wolf executives.
Sure.
Are we going to be BBC Studios saying, let's do this. Let's just make it together. You and me. They've got the Sony money. They've got. I mean, that was years ago. Who knows how much is left?
Right.
But they've Tranter and Gardner have been in the industry for ages, even if Doctor Who was basically Gardner's first thing as an exec. Like they've got experience under their belts. They've done lots of popular, well-received shows outside of Doctor Who. If they could, do you go to the BBC studios and say, here's what we can afford, what can you kick in, let's make this? Or do you go to Netflix? Do you go to Paramount Plus? Do you go to HBO?
I would rather that they go just do it themselves, frankly.
Yeah, the distribution is the tricky thing. Well, how do you get this out to the rest of the world?
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
Disney Plus,
yeah.
Disney Plus's reach was something that should have been beneficial to
that's
Doctor
true.
Who.
Yeah,
it's just my gut talking, basically.
But then we see that variety list, and it's like, oh wow, like Disney's like everyone has it, no one watches it, basically.
And as much as you want to point fingers at Disney for dropping the ball with lack of promotion or whatever, that variety list is very telling.
Very telling. Yeah. Yeah,
and especially the brand like Disney. Like Disney is everyone loves Disney.
Streaming turned all these storied movie studios, and I don't know if they had a choice in this, into startups, into digital startups where the idea is to burn through cash, and maybe it succeeds. And that's kind of what they did, and it did not work, except for Netflix, who did it. They're like the Google or Facebook because they were there first, basically. And through a bunch of smart business decisions. I don't like most of it's reality crap, but yeah. So that's why they're on top of the heap and nobody else is. Even guys like Disney, who you'd think would be.
For the benefit of the live stream, there's a remark here from David Trainier. I don't know if you can throw it up on the screen there, Stephen, about the industry. There we go. The whole industry seems to be relying on 50-year-old IP, intellectual property, because of a conservatism.
No, you got it right.
Anyway, that would have ensured that intellectual property would never be made to ensure
Absolutely
that
true.
IP would never have been made.
Cowardice.
So just
cowardice on a massive scale.
In the way the whole industry is these days, like nobody's taking chances on new things. Nobody's putting money into new things. Again, like to go back to the Star Wars Disney stuff, they bought Lucasfilm for a reason, and this is one of those reasons.
Fair enough. Business-wise, can't blame them for that.
You can't blame them for that. So do we go with Doctor Who and a fresh start, or is there any way to not have... Is there any way to get away from that history dump, no matter who takes it over?
Oh, I mean, I think it'll always be a BBC thing. I think the BBC won't let it go because it's still a big money maker for them, BBC Studios. And that's why I think you're right, Chris. I think this is a mere prediction. I mean, I don't know when we're going to find out about a Disney renewal until War Between the Land and the Sea finished, because that's part of the 26th.
And we still don't have a remote idea of when that's going to go out.
No, my guess is sometime this year. But
the way RTD is talking makes me feel like it ain't happening after that. I just get that feeling from him.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of given how honestly the money was not spent well. It was spent on lavish, epic stuff as opposed to nice character pieces when it comes to this Disney Who. A BritBox BBC Studios combo for a year or two was like...
Barely anybody has BritBox, but yeah.
I know, like I'm just thinking of that vein, like kind of a lower stakes, kind of has an appeal to it to me.
Oh yeah,
BritBox is doing original programming now.
They really are a lot. I mentioned Ludwig the other.
It's entirely
I mean,
within possible.
I don't know if it's good for the show, but I would like to see it.
Yeah, like a reset, like just a bit of a given the lavish amount of attention and money they paid for it, and it didn't really what can you lose at this point?
Well, as far as the money is concerned, there's all the talk about that went into the 4K effects and whatnot, and if Disney's not continuing with funding it, then maybe we won't get 4K effects. Well, we have to, because that's just where things are at. You
broadcast standard now.
You can't not. You just simply can't not. And that's still part of why we have eight episode seasons. But it's obviously the money is not wholly going there, because you've seen the size of the crew. The costumes looked more or less impeccable every step of the way.
Yep.
They put obviously a lot of money into the TARDIS console set,
which is still standing. Still got that.
The money has gone to very many places. I'm sure RTD got a nice pay rise as well.
Running
and all
this
that kind
thing,
of
whether
stuff,
he should probably get paid for for what he's doing, whether or not I like it, that is a very difficult job. So
but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, yeah.
I was going to my early question. If it's me, I'm shopping this to other streamers first.
Oh, definitely. You have to. I think.
Again, distribution
for
solely
distribution
because of
alone.
distribution.
yeah, I think you're right.
I go back to the curious appearances of Stephen Moffat at Gallifrey 1 and the things that he said there about like maybe we should do Doctor Who again as a an ongoing serial, like a serialized format, be it in short form, one season thing, not just like here's individual episodes with a tying thread, an actual 3-part episode. Say what you will about Flux, which was born out of necessity thanks to COVID,
And ravaged because of COVID.
I honestly think that was the way forward for Doctor Who. Less epic though. Don't make we're going to destroy the entire universe. That's too epic for Doctor Who.
Flux is meant to be 8 episodes though, right?
I might have been, but 6 or honestly a 6-part story told over the course, like maybe you change locations once or twice, you make the change. I think honestly the TARDIS is too powerful again. It can go anywhere it wants and everything. It's kind of neat when it goes what if it went back to randomizing again and it just sort of landed there, we couldn't fix it and you're sort of stuck there, and that's part of the thing we have to sort of escape, like sort of bringing it back to basics a little bit, telling stories like that over a 3-episode arc so you could build up tension, cliffhangers. You're not there for the cliffhanger is a story.
Children of Earth.
Yeah, Children of Earth.
Awesome. So
maybe
so
even we'll get to it. The war between the
Okay,
land and the
sorry.
sea. We'll find out. Anyway, yes.
So I was just going to say, and this is just me cogitating right now, when
Right.
you mentioned Stephen Moffat, who I gather is a good friend of RTD's. You don't talk about
and of Julie Gardner.
yeah,
Just saying.
who he's on stage with. You don't talk on stage about how you would do Doctor Who unless your friend is done with this. You know what I mean? And isn't going to get mad at you for undermining him, right? I'm assuming. I don't know their personal relationship. I don't know anything.
Right.
But I'm just guessing that would not be something that you would do publicly, comfortably, unless not even you doing it, just saying, "Oh, I think we should go this way." After.
That's just not
ahead of time. Oh, my friend's finished with this. You know what I mean? That's just my guess.
As much as Stephen Moffat claims to be done with Doctor Who, he is never far from Doctor Who. I don't think he's going to be a showrunner. I think his experience and knowledge are never far away when it comes from the future.
I don't think he should be showrunner. I don't think he should be. I don't think or something.
We don't think he should be showrunner. He doesn't think he should be showrunner.
Yeah.
But I think that ideas are there. I think ideas are still there, and I think probably Moffat probably has ideas that he throws. Thinking, maybe we should try this. Go find someone who can do this. That sort of thing. I don't think Moffat's. I think Moffat's done with Doctor Who in an official capacity, but maybe not so much as someone who is certainly still has ideas of what can be done.
Eminence grise, as they call it.
So if RTD, let's say RTD doesn't come back for whatever reason, Pete McTighe, or that's another long
running fan.
What we're doing now,
Yeah.
What we're doing now is like how you hear now about who's going to run for 2028 American elections. None of it means anything until the time comes. Like in 2027, you'll find out who's running for the 2028 election, if there is one.
And things change rapidly. Then anyway,
Yeah, so we're just wish casting basically, which is nothing wrong with, but I'm just saying that's what we're doing. Like,
Don't even try not to think of terms of like who is in the current Doctor Who office now, because that's exactly what we don't want. Honestly, it should be a test. Like name the doctors in order.
You're hired.
Exactly, done. Yeah, don't know. Yeah, maybe understand. There's the TARDIS that travels, disappears here, reappears there. That's all you need to know.
That guy just
Write a
mutter
show.
David Banks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, exactly.
like you don't want a complete neophyte either.
No.
but
Not to television. No.
We are
to Doctor Who.
we are approaching
almost twice.
We are
episode.
approaching on this episode almost 2 hours in length.
Yeah. I know.
I tell you what, this is a conversation to perhaps be had. Listen, next week we have earmarked for fluid links about this season, this era, Shudigawa, anything else.
3 or 4 hours.
Anyone listening, we're on Blue Sky, Twitter still, if you want, Facebook, Threads. We'll try to hashtag it fluid links. Is there anything in the last 2 hours that we didn't mention? If you're in the chat in the live stream right now, send in your questions and hashtag them, and we can check them after the fact. If we talk about it next week and stuff, once we've sort of had more time to think about this episode and this season and this era a little bit, give us a week, and we'll come back next week and do a fluid links about that. So
there's definitely still a freshness to this that will be a lot different in even a week. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, like giving time to think about it I might say something different. Who knows?
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Yes.
Before series season 2 started, I went back and watched Ruby Road through to the end of season 1. How soon do you think is too soon to go back to season 2?
Whew.
I
left it about
That's
a year.
usually what I do.
I left it about
Yeah.
a year, and that felt okay.
A year usually works. Then you've got distance from it, and you can sort of objectively judge.
Yeah. We'll see. We had a trailer. For the
Yes.
Doctor Who spinoff, the final 5 episodes of the Doctor Who Disney deal, which is the war between the land and the sea. There were a couple of images with Salt, as played by Gugu Mbatha Raw. Looks like a sort of a variation of a
Fish person?
sea devil, fish person, Silurian.
I don't think it's a sea devil.
No.
I don't know what it is. And actually, that's
because
good. Don't make it a sea devil.
You see sea devils. There's 2 really, really quick brief shots of sea devils.
Is there?
In
Okay.
the trailer.
Okay.
My first thought was, fish person from Underwater Menace. But I'm sure they're
Or The Shape of Water.
They're not going anywhere near that.
I hope not.
No. And also Russell Tovey in a courtroom of some sort.
It
That's an
looks
impressive looking courtroom.
It looks dark and gritty. It definitely, much like Doctor Who and the effects and whatever, it looks like money went into it.
Yeah.
Like they weren't starving for funding. It's kind of hard to know from a sub 1 minute teaser about what
I
really
just had
to
a bad
expect.
thought.
But I'm looking forward to
Billy
it so
Piper
far.
shows up. What if this is the Billy Piper episode? I know it isn't.
Yeah.
I know it isn't.
What if?
What I
not?
tell you what, there are. Is it wrong that I'm looking forward to this more than I was Doctor Who? For similar reasons. I mean, I know some people would
Yes
say,
and
okay,
no.
well, P. Big Tie and RTD have co-written it. Okay, that's fine. Here's why I'm looking forward to it. It's one story told over 5 episodes, which is kind of what I was sort of alluding to, what maybe the future of Doctor Who should be.
Maybe this is a test bed for that.
Maybe is a test bed. Secondly, it's what was my second point? I can't remember. That was it. I don't remember now what it was.
It's
I thought there were 3
different.
points.
It's just different.
It's different.
And it's not
but
class. That's
also,
the other thing.
It's not class. Also, God, remember class. Lorne Balfe is doing the music for it. We know this because he is offering seats at a recording session for the music for this. So there's not going to be the overwrought Murray Gold score
That must be why you're looking forward to
on it either. It's kind of everything that I was hoping for, what I was mildly expecting with Doctor Who when it came back, except it's now this. Now I'm terrified of how low the ratings are going to be because it's not Doctor Who, and it's a spin-off.
What if it became a huge hit and all these Twiblats fans emerged and know nothing about Doctor Who and don't care?
That's true. But
They're all wearing T-shirts of Gugu Mbatha Raw and the fish person.
Yeah.
If that happens, it's not going to be before episode 1.
But you look at the one shot of Russell Tovey there as Barclay, not Reg Barclay from Star Trek: The Next Generation, I hasten to add, standing up in a hearing of some sort. Like, that looks completely not like what Doctor Who looked. There's no overly saturated crazy colors or anything like that. It's Earth-based, obviously, like that. Beshrew me, but I'm looking forward to this spinoff.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Watch the space.
I am as well, just to get more Whoniverse related content.
Yeah.
Like, despite of, or maybe because of, like, any dislike for stuff we've seen this series, or relative to the scads of hate mail we've gotten for not being completely
scad anyway.
upbeat and chipper and positive about everything that's been thrown our way. Despite anything like that, or because of anything like that, I'm still looking forward to the War Between. And it looks good visually, and
shrug
dark,
emoji.
and
Yeah. Stay tuned for that whenever that comes. My guess is October, November. I think that was the original rumor. November, December, around there, or something like that. Probably within the calendar year, because I think there's probably something to do. The Disney deal, like make it by this and wrap it up by this.
Get this inventory out the door.
There we go, more or less, before the end of the fiscal year.
Imagine if it got way more press than Doctor Who because it's a quote unquote new thing.
Because that's the new thing, prestige television thing. I wonder what it's going to air on.
I could see a studio doing that because they don't know any better.
Are they going to worry about? I hope they're going to put it out weekly and not just dump it.
Not 5 nights.
You'd think so, yeah.
Or at once, like all of it appears on iPlayer and Disney Plus. I hope they don't do that.
Do we know for a fact what channel it's going out on in the UK? Is it for sure
BBC One? I'm pretty sure it's BBC. I don't. You know what? I'm not sure.
I don't know if it's actually been said. I can't recall off the top of my head. Obviously, we know the Disney side of things, but the UK side of things.
I'm trying to look at the official press release here that was sent out. BBC One in the UK, official confirmed.
There we go. Thank you.
So there we are. So it is BBC One. So there. War Between the Land and the Sea. Send us questions and comments about that. # Fluid Links for next week as well.
Please don't, because we don't know anything.
No, I know, but what our thoughts are and stuff like that.
I definitely don't think I want it all dumped in
I certainly don't. I certainly don't.
Spread it out.
I don't know. Maybe I could handle it if it was one a day for 5 days. I don't know.
Nah, just do the once a week thing. That seems to work better than the dump.
Let's
with a few different examples.
Especially with the future uncertain, let's say, with Doctor Who. Let's pad it out as much as we possibly can.
I mean, it depends on the property too. Like with Andor, it was great to have 3 at once. So you're watching an epic movie each week and then you're done.
But you still have 4 weeks of releases, even with that schedule.
Exactly.
But I mean, traditionally, Disney hasn't been like Netflix, where they just dump everything at once.
Netflix holds on to that for some reason.
Yeah, and
except for Stranger Things,
Amazon goes between them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Netflix, Cobra Kai was released across three chunks, like the last Stranger Things season.
Never watched it, but yeah.
Stranger Things at Tudum, the Netflix festival. It's returning as a 3-part finale, and they're dropping one episode / movie a month, basically, leading up to the end of it. So, Bridgerton, they split up a little bit too. The big ones that they know gets the, to prevent people from churning, they will spread out just past a month so that they can get people to sign up for 2 months for those. So, yeah.
I mean, even Doctor Who changed. Like last year, we had the first 2 episodes dropped on day 1. This year,
that's true.
One a week.
Yeah,
so
that's true. Next week here for Doctor Who, there's still content coming. It's the Doctor Who Unleashed 20 Years in Wales, they're calling it. It's airing June 7th at 7 p.m. on BBC One or at 6 a.m. on iPlayer. So there we go. It will feature, amongst many people, Arthur Doverill, Karen Gillan, the 10th, 14th, and 16th Doctors, David Tennant and Billy Piper.
I laugh, but yet I cry.
Are involved as well. So Russell T Davies will be there, surprise, as well. So yeah, 20 years of modern Doctor Who in Wales. We'll talk about that next week. Yeah.
As a behind-the-scenes-ist, I am looking forward to this.
I love behind-the-scenes stuff.
So do I.
Behind-the-scenes stuff.
And I'm sure Chris does too, yeah.
Well, I just want to know how Arthur Darvill is getting on with swimming with sharks.
That'll be the entire half of it. It'll just be him. He's going to be hosting it while a shark chases him.
Because if it doesn't,
now that's a callback. Now that's a member berry, Chris.
Yeah. A couple other quick notes. There's excerpts and previews of the 2 15th Doctor novels that are out right now. Fear, Death by Water, perhaps a tie-in to War Between the Land and the Sea, probably not. That one's written by Emily Cook. And,
shout out to Emily Cook.
Yep, Spectral Scream by Hannah Ferguson. There are previews for that in the show notes from the official Doctor Who website, so there's a thing. Catherine Tate is coming to Edmonton for Edmonton Expo. She loves doing these. She was just in Calgary in April, so look at that. A Doctor Who person in Edmonton.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully one of many.
Yeah, I know. I like it when Doctor Who people come here.
Yeah.
I was trying to pin down because remember Jodie Whittaker and Mandic Beale were going to be in
Calgary
Expo,
yeah.
but that didn't tie in with the reshoots for the Reality War that happened in February. That Jodie Whittaker, I think, shot that, and she was doing another job at the time, hence her hair color being different. And they said that they got her released for one day, and the wig and everything. Everyone was in wigs. Yeah, everyone. And lastly, there's a big finish. First Doctor Unbound, Knights of the Round TARDIS, due in September of 25 by L.R. Hay. The cover art has David Bradley. That crew.
Yeah, I thought he was done with this, but I mean, they probably got backlog
They
stuff.
recorded this in 2012.
Good gravy.
That's a lie. That's a total lie. They recorded it probably after
Wouldn't
that.
surprise me.
And
It's
also-
a big finish.
Also, I mean, his name is up there anyway, but you clearly have Jamie Glover as Ian.
Oh yeah, okay. So this is what. Yeah.
So.
One thing that was in the show notes that you missed, Stephen, was there's a lovely little article on the BBC website about LGBT
yes.
plus
Yeah.
people and their enjoyment. Change lives. I closed the darn tab. I'm trying to open it up again here.
How dare you?
But it's
Our years at Gallifrey one speak to this.
Yeah.
yeah, but Scott Hancock is the main focus of the article, and so it's nice to see all that. And part of why I bring this up is apparently, and I don't know much about this yet because obviously things are very fresh, but with at least some audience thoughts that Shooty was rushed out the door and all that kind of stuff. Apparently, there are some Black and POC people who are not happy with his departure and are doing the whole "I'm never going to watch again" kind of thing. And I know Amanda Ray Prescott is very much following this trend, so I look forward to anything she may have to write, be it Dev Geek or other places her work appears.
Mm-hmm. Links to the show notes for that, though, along with everything, including other episodes and stuff of this very podcast, which is finally coming to a close. One of our longest non-commentary mini-scope interview podcasts we've done in years. Lots to talk about. As we said, next week, Fluid Links. Send in your questions and comments, preferably about the most recent season episode era, so to speak. We can hash it out after having given it a week's thought.
If one more comment, if you can bring it up from Florida Apple Mac Pros Inc. Which one of you three said 2 years ago RTD was hired to kill the show? That was me.
That was Chris.
And it might be taking a little bit longer, but he might have got there.
I'm not sure it was his intention.
Hired to
or anything like
kill.
that.
He was not hired. Obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
That was my thought at the time, and clearly that has not come to pass.
Mm-hmm. So there we go. Anyway, as I said, next week, Fluid Links about this current season of Doctor Who. Send them all. We're all over the social media networks. We're on this post and stuff like that.
Except X. Don't send it there.
Well, yeah, it's there, but
checked.
it'll get checked and stuff. So we'll talk more about Doctor Who, as we will always do, including the Season 7 box set coming out on this coming week here in North America. Boy, howdy, am I looking forward to that.
And speaking of Shooty's era, Season 1 coming out toward the end of the month now.
It's June 24th as well, yeah. So all that to come and more on Radio Free Skaro. And in the meantime, and in between time, got it in. I'm Stephen in Edmonton.
We're in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
So long for now.